This is Solid Snake, and you're about to listen to Final Encounter Cast. Kept you waiting, huh?
All right, let's hit it.
Oh my God, what is this?
A new era dawns to fill the void. An unfamiliar path with a pulse of its own.
3, 2, 1.
Final Encounter Cast. Interesting conflicts, not conflicts of interest.
Typical corporate bullshit.
With your hosts, Nate, Robbie, Chris, Nika, and Callie. FinalEncounterCast.com.
Ready? Get set? Go!
Welcome to Final Encounter Cast.
Final Encounter Cast.
Your brand new favorite video game talk show. My name's Nate. Thanks for joining us. We are so excited to be with you here today because we have a very special guest on the show. David Hayter is going to be joining us today to talk about why performance matters in video games and how the possible SAG-AFTRA strike could be affecting every single video game that is currently in production. David Hayter, a very trusted name in video games and voice acting. He's going to be joining us to break all of that down here on Final Encounter Cast. Thank you for joining us at our brand new Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Final Encounter Cast. If this is your first time joining us, we hope that you'll hit that follow button and come back and hang out with us often. We're going to be streaming games on here all the time, and yeah, we're going to be building up this channel. So we hope that you'll hit that follow button and you'll come back and hang out with us way more often. Of course, joining me today, my name's Nate. We've got Robbie over here, who seems to be
the man behind the mic. Yeah, literally.
Bathed in a weird angelic light too. That's there we go. Here we go. I'll pull that back there. That's better. Yeah. Robbie, how you doing?
Doing good.
We need a better way to set up cameras for this show.
Or what we need to do is put somebody over here who doesn't matter. Kali, switch me spots.
No, I did that last time.
See, now if Nika was actually here, she would have just been kicked off of her camera.
Yeah, well,
but yes, we do.
She would have been kicked off her camera for being late.
We do also have a few things that we're working on. We're looking into putting an actual video camera up in the corner and trying a wide angle shot, seeing how that works for us.
Yes, we're going to try some newer things in terms of the visual presentation of Final Encounter Cast. We've put up a new logo. I don't know how long the logo is going to stick around.
Yeah, because we got
not
a few
sure how much I love it
in the process.
Yeah.
Well, we all like it, but Nate doesn't. But hold on, but that's the other thing. We all like it. Do we love it?
Yeah. See, that's the thing. I want to love it. Yeah. I want to love it.
Yep.
I want to make love to it.
Gross. Don't be gross, Chris.
I'm sorry. Have you met?
Yeah,
this is the guy who has his head clamped between two hamburgers.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I love my burger phones.
Also manning the drops over there. Thank you. Yeah. You got anything? Got anything for us? No, you can't do drops on command.
You don't just get a drop whenever you want. It has to be natural.
This is a science, okay?
Okay, all right, fair enough. And also, we've got Callie, who has an odd amount of headroom in his shot. I don't know why that is.
Sorry.
We're getting way more of the bookcase than we are of the human being.
I know why.
Why is that?
Because the last time we did Final Encounter Cast, we switched for an email. I ended there. I needed that room for my ego. He can't fill as much camera space as what I can.
That's a little bit better. Thank you very much, Callie. All right, so we've got some gaming news to talk about. So let's do that.
I'm here to do the news tonight.
And that's the way the news goes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this program to bring you important news.
Here's a story that's out of this world.
All right, here we go.
We do need a graphic for that because it's way longer than our some of our other
I wasn't sure if there was actually production. I was like, wait, am I waiting? Okay.
Yeah.
He muted you just in case.
To be safe, Nika, you should probably just hold back on whenever news is mentioned, just wait.
The news.
All right, Callie, what do you got at the news desk?
All right, so Nintendo has announced that their new NX will be a console handheld hybrid because, the Wii U, that was well received.
Okay, well, now hold on, guys, because when I first saw this headline, I thought the same thing. What the fuck, right? But if we look at it, like, objectively, isn't that the dream? Like, isn't that the dream?
Sure, but so is the Virtual Boy.
No, hold on. The dream is to just have this one thing no matter where you go, whether you're at home, you're on the run, wherever you are, boom, all you have is in the palm of your hand, right? That's the fucking dream. And who's the one who dominates the handheld market right now?
Obviously Nintendo.
Nintendo, yeah.
Easily. Fucking easily, right? So in theory, a console handheld hybrid is exactly what we should want. Yet when we think about it, it sounds fucking utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, well, it should be, except when we think about what kind of consoles we get from Nintendo.
Well, okay, it's not just that, though. Like, my big thing about it is that you want a handheld to be something that you can easily run around with, right? Toss into your pocket, blah, 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 blah. So the first thing a lot of us are thinking are the Wii U fucking tablet thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so is it just going to be that, and then you, put little cartridges or discs into it and hook it up to you? Like, that's too big. Right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Can it still hook up to a TV if you want it to?
That was my other thing. Like,
well, it has to if it's a console.
Yeah, it has to. So do you just carry the fucking cords around with you, or is it a cordless thing?
It sounds like what it is they want to take the remote play feature of the Vita and maybe try to shoehorn that into a system, sort of like the Wii U has the tablet thing, and make that on the go. I don't know how it's going to work. Well, the thing that I'll give Nintendo is that they're super good at the gimmicks, and that I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that this could be cool.
Here's what I'm hoping.
What the Wii U can do right now is on certain games you can take whatever is on the screen right now, throw it on your tablet, and then walk away.
Right.
And play it in the bathroom.
That's kind of cool.
You play it as far as your Wi-Fi would go.
Which is the other dream, being able to play all your games from the bathroom.
While masturbating.
But the thing is that
that's your dream.
It can't maintain like a stream between the system and the handheld, because then you have to have some kind of data network involved in that.
And the Data Vita, we all know, didn't go very well.
Exactly. Nothing with the Vita went well. I mean, let's be honest. The Vita, oh man, that thing crashed and burned hard. Even though it was a great idea and concept, and there were a lot of really good core features of the thing, it did not perform well in the market. And so it would have to be a way where that you can like offload the entirety of the game and take that with you on the go. And I don't know how that would be done.
That's what's so weird about it, is like when we visualize it in our head, you have your handheld that's part of the console, right? But it's the same thing. Like in my head, for it to be considered a hybrid, the actual console and the handheld are the exact same thing.
Right.
So you would take that with you.
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't know.
I'm curious to see how this is going to end up panning out.
It's a weird concept just because, like, okay, if it's handheld and I can carry it around, I just consider it a handheld. I don't consider it a console anymore.
That's true, too.
That's just a handheld
that is
to me.
True. And my hope is, if this does fail, maybe this could be a sign that Nintendo's getting out of the console market.
I think which they've needed to do
handheld only. Yeah, maybe.
Nintendo's needed to get out of that game for years.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
So let's see. We got Batman Arkham Knight. The much maligned PC port is being released October 28th. Now with 100% less suck.
Yeah.
Are we sure of that? Have you tested it?
That's the claim. I haven't played it. Hell no.
Okay.
We here at Final Encountercast are not paid for our opinions and are not sent advanced copies of games.
That's true.
It could only have 60% less suck.
It could only have 60% less suck.
That's still pretty sucky.
That's a lot of suck.
That's still a lot of suck.
What they needed to do was turn down the bugs and turn down the suck and turn up the awesome.
Yeah,
turn down for what? No.
Exactly.
No, I tried.
You ruined it, Nika.
If you want
Nika, you took an already shitty joke and you ran it into the ground.
You just made turn up the awesome even more lame.
Hold on. I'm going to give Nika credit for stepping out of her comfort zone there. all that really needed, because it was sucky, okay?
Yeah,
it was
bad. That was not good.
But all you had to do was sell it. Like, if you would have really punched it in there, you might have got a laugh.
Yeah, no.
But you kind of abandoned it at the last second.
Because I felt it.
It's hard when I'm not in the room. I don't know when I'm going to interrupt a conversation.
And as a result, it feels like you really turned up your suck.
Yeah, well.
Sorry.
Turned up for what suck?
I do what I can. That's it.
Now he just ruins it. Okay, all right. Let's. What else we got here?
I'm just dropping the daily reminder. The Star Wars trailer's out. It looks amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Shitting a brick.
Okay, hold on.
No, the Battlefront.
I'm sorry.
Whew.
Battlefront.
Awesome.
He's got it. Battlefront looks fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, the Battlefront trailer.
Star Wars Battlefront.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that one.
the movie
I thought you meant the movie trailer, and I'm like, I don't
trailer.
get it. I mean, it's fine.
I like it.
It's fine, but I don't get this super big fucking hype about it.
People are just excited to see Star Wars again on the screen.
That's all you need to know.
Here's what it is.
I'm just
At least
underwhelmed.
No, really?
What?
Here's
Why?
what it.
No, I mean, it looks good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let me put it like this, all right? So the first trailer came out, right? And everyone's like, and I'm like, this trailer doesn't really give me
first trailer didn't do anything for me.
This one was
50% more suck.
this one was definitely better, but it doesn't get my like skin crawling or like standing on end like some movie trailers do.
It might be because they're only giving us like the older character or the newer characters mostly. Like there's that nostalgia that might make your skin crawl is kind of absent still.
Here's what it was for me, okay? Because I did get the goosebumps moment, and this has been the first Star Wars trailer that's gotten that kind of reaction out of me. And here's what it is for me, because on its face, that looks like a movie disambiguated from the Star Wars franchise that I want to fucking see.
Yes,
that's what makes it exciting for me. Because even with when they went back to the first, and they did episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, even my 16, 17-year-old self saw those trailers for episode 1 and went, oh fuck, like it was like I know I'm going to go see this, but man, am I really worried about it.
It could also be that I don't like consider myself like a diehard Star Wars fan.
I don't either, but you know what? I did have a strong connection to it as a kid.
Sure.
And when those music notes.
That's what it is. That music, the score
music,
is perfect.
The music and then Harrison Ford. Those two things really locked me in, and I was like, fuck yes.
I will give the one scene where they're like, we've all heard the stories, and he's like, it's true. All of it.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Was pretty fantastic. I mean, come on.
So many questions though. Like, why are they just stories? Why does no one believe about the Jedi and the Empire and everything?
I think it would be in pretty big, like written down in history.
Yeah.
You know what
who's
I think
keeping that a secret? The rebels or the Empire?
You know what I think it is that ruins it or underwhelms it for me is
it's the Black Jedi, isn't it?
No, oh god, you had to
racist.
You racist.
Get out of here, Go burn a cross on a lawn, you terrible person.
Go raise the Confederate flag.
Honestly, I'm still riding hype from the Deadpool trailer.
No, get out.
No, hold on.
Badass.
It's not just that. Deadpool is Fox, okay? And I have had absolutely zero faith in Fox just since the beginning of forever. Like, just anything Fox does is just like, fuck off, right? But they were actually able to turn me around with the Deadpool trailer. So you're right, the Star Wars trailer was good, but like when I watched it, I'm just like, I think you want to like the Deadpool. I think that comes from a desire to want to like it a little bit more.
You do root for that. I mean, Fox is hit or miss. I liked Days of Future Past. Fantastic Four sucked balls.
Days of Future Past was all right.
Yeah. But you want to like Deadpool because it was such kind of a labor of love by like Ryan Reynolds and the fans who saw that leaked footage, who there was like, make this fucking movie.
No, it might also be because there's never been like a Star Wars movie that, like you said, when we were growing up, it was episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, we got shafted on that one.
Yeah.
I don't know, because J.J. Abrams is good. I love what he did with Star Trek and stuff.
Again, it's a movie on its face that I want to see. Just that trailer, even if it had nothing to do with the Star Wars franchise, it looks like a sci-fi movie that I would want to go see. I said the same thing about Prometheus.
Okay,
and
you
I'm
know
sure,
what? Fair enough. I know what it is. It's the Doctor Who theory, okay? Doctor Who maybe be pretty good, but the fans are also fucking gung-ho about it.
Shut the fuck up.
So
do not compare Star Wars fans to Doctor Whovians.
Because everybody was so like, about the trailer that when I watched it, I'm like, it was good. And it was
So maybe what when I saw the trailer, I was watching the Monday Night Football game when it debuted for the first time, I didn't get any build up from everyone else saying, "Oh, did you see the trailer? It's amazing." I watched it there in that moment.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm still.
It's just me, I guess.
On its face again, and I said the same thing about Prometheus. I really liked Prometheus, disambiguated, from the Alien franchise and having no connections to it. I thought it was a pretty good. It was a pretty good movie on its face. I know that a lot of people will disagree with me, but I actually genuinely liked that movie. And
you talk about 1, 2, 3, what we grew up with, and the issues there is when you watch 1, 2, 3, you know what's going to happen eventually. With these movies, they could go any direction they wanted.
That's true
They
too.
have all the freedom in the world now.
That's true too. Yeah, I think that is that unknown aspect is very exciting. Anyway, all right.
On a side note, welcome to our gaming show.
Yeah, right. All right.
You mentioned speaking of Star Wars, after posting up the most successful beta in EA's history, for whatever that's worth, Star Wars Battlefront had a price tag announced. Its deluxe bundle, along with the full season DLC pass, is going to be $120. That game is set for release November 17th.
That is steep.
That does seem kind of steep. So that's with the game, which
that's
normally,
the game, the deluxe bundle, so all those bonus items,
right,
and the full season DLC pass.
Well, because season passes normally go for what, like $20-$30.
Is there some kind of physical item, or are all of these just digital?
I believe it's digital.
Ooh,
that does seem super
no
steep.
physical. That's really steep.
That's really
You
steep.
should be able to get a game and the season pass $90.
I'm really
That's 60 and 30. Right?
I believe the base game and the base game and the season pass would be $110.
Wow.
I think it's 60 on the game and 50 on the DLC pass. It's really steep on a DLC pass.
Dude, that's brutal. That's crazy.
So how much is just the game without a season pass?
60.
I mean,
wow, so they're charging you almost as much for the DLC as they are for the game?
Well, if there's a lot of DLC.
Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be a ton of DLC centered around The Force Awakens.
Yeah,
they've already got some of the maps made up for
granted.
it. They are not allowed to release the battle until the movie comes out because it would be spoilers for what happens in the movie.
Okay, I guess that's fair, but I mean, like, I don't know. I've
it's
heard,
steep. It's really steep.
I've heard
at once. That's steep at once. Because if they come out with at least 5 decent-sized DLCs at $10 each.
What does the campaign look like?
You realize though that season passes always give you discounts on DLC. If you buy them individually, it'd come to more than that.
So if they actually put out a shit ton of DLC for it, okay, sure.
Yeah, but what does the campaign in this game look like? I've heard mixed reports on what the campaign actually is, and that there's just a huge focus on the multiplayer.
I was going to say, I feel like that's all I've really heard about.
The beta focused largely on the multiplayer. They didn't show a ton of the campaign in it, but I would imagine it's going to be what you'd expect out of a Battlefront campaign. You play through all the missions. I
don't know, man.
It's going to be Call of Duty, but Star Wars.
It just seems real. It seems unnecessarily steep.
It does seem steep to me, even as a huge fan of it. But
all right,
moving on.
Yep.
Okay. For StarCraft fans, the first few missions of Legacy of the Void are now available to be downloaded and played for free. The final installment of the StarCraft 2 trilogy is set to release November 10th.
You guys remember when that was supposed to just be one game 10 years ago?
Well, they went through so many things like with StarCraft Ghost before they actually got around to announcing StarCraft 2 officially. But as soon as they really started developing StarCraft 2, they pretty quickly announced it was going to be 3 games.
But they announced it they released the Terran set when I was in started college.
Yep. Because I remember.
And then they're like, "Oh, there's gonna be 3. We're gonna release the Zerg and the Protoss. Get excited!" And I was like, "Great, we'll get another one each year."
Yeah, no, each one's run on about a 2.5 year cycle.
That's crazy. By the way, Neo Darkwind in the chat saying Battlefront doesn't have a campaign.
Oh, straight up then.
Just straight up, doesn't have a campaign. So you're basically, the DLC seems like you're buying into multiplayer map packs.
Okay, then, absolutely. That is $60 for nothing but multiplayer. No, that for me, that's not it. I'll play Call of Duty campaign mode, and I might even try and do Insanity. But for multiplayer, I play for 2 or 3 days.
You think they're jacking up the price just because they
know people are going to pay it?
Yeah, because it's Star Wars, man,
and because it's the first Battlefront game in ages.
Yeah, that too.
The best part of a lot of Star Wars games, though, is the campaign mode. Even their online, the best part is their single player campaign. So it seems weird that they would opt for no campaign at all.
But you can play as Darth Vader
and the Emperor.
God, all right.
Anyway. The new Fatal Frame game is running into a couple of snags. Not only is it too large for the smallest Wii U, the smallest Wii U being 8 gigs, it's too big and does not fit on it.
What the fuck?
Yes.
Oops.
Not only that, but they've actually begun censoring out some of the material in it. You play as a Gravier model in this, so Playboy Bunny swimsuit model type person.
Right.
There's a scene where she is in that outfit and is sitting there like thinking over how like she's just viewed as an object and stuff. And in that scene, they have put her into regular street clothes for it and just like completely nullify the impact of that scene.
Way to go, Nintendo.
So they're
But
really screwing
Bayonetta-
this one up.
But Bayonetta's okay.
Yeah, Bayonetta's
Well,
fine.
wait, hang on. Who makes Fatal Frame? It's not Nintendo. It's got to be some third developer. Who I don't know. I never played a single Fatal Frame
I've
game.
played 3 of them. They're all pretty good. I cannot think of who makes them.
Okay. Well.
It is Koei Tecmo.
Yeah. Oh, Yeah. Okay.
Tecmo.
Yeah.
That would be it.
Yeah. So nice job.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly.
Way to go.
Sony is no longer developing any games on the Vita. It is purely on third-party support. It's dead, Jim.
That makes me sad.
To be fair,
That
though,
makes me
when I
sad.
think of owning a Vita, I really just want it to download all the old classic games, so off the PS Network. So it doesn't really bother me. Maybe this will drive prices of the Vitas down.
I don't know. Like that is.
If anything, it'll drive it up because the scarcity will go
Son
up.
of a bitch.
What are they going to replace it with? Is my question. I mean, like,
Are they done making Vitas as well? Then?
No, I don't. That's not what they're saying. They're done making.
Yeah.
They're done doing first party games. First party games. Thank you. First party development.
And you think that'll drive the price of it up?
If they
Because
do,
this doesn't give people much reasons to buy it
that's
anymore.
true.
If they stop development of the system, yes.
Yeah, that I
If they
can
stop
see.
production on the system, I don't know. I don't know.
A third-party group could still release a game worth getting a Vita for.
True,
It's
true.
not that.
It's just-
I'm still waiting for that one exclusive Vita game that makes me want to buy it, and it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath any longer on that one. Probably want to go ahead and breathe in on that one.
Yeah.
Square Enix has announced they plan to, quote, revitalize more of their classics.
Oh boy!
Yay.
I mean, but revitalized, does that mean
Robbie
means remake.
What do you
like,
think of
like
that?
a complete remake, like FF7 remake,
Yeah,
or like
it means
an
that.
HD remaster?
I was going to say, that's what I wondered too. Are they just going to remaster them? Are they completely remaking them?
Well, we know that they're going to be remaking 12. They're going to do an HD remaster of 12.
That's an
HD
that's an
remaster
HD
is not
remaster,
Right.
They're not giving it the FF7 treatment.
Right, that's
That's
true.
my thing. Like to be like, oh, look at all this, hype from the FF7. Let's do that with all of our games. But then what if 7 comes out and it's actually like shit?
But that word that they use, revitalize, is what scares me. That
Yeah.
says to me updates and changes, not
Yeah.
just graphics.
Okay, well, they still have Final Fantasy V and Final Fantasy VI to update and give 3D graphics.
That's terrifying. I mean,
Terrifyingly awesome.
Don't give me.
FF6 could use a nice 3D treatment.
Yeah, I don't.
And voice acting, there was good voice acting in Final Fantasy IV DS.
I don't know about good, but there was voice acting in FF4.
I
You're
liked
right.
it.
Sarah has a voice in
did.
Dissidia.
I did like the FF4 remake on DS. I don't know, man.
Come on, we all know what we want them to remake. Saga Frontier.
What?
What?
You mean
Exactly.
you mean Chrono Trigger?
No.
How about Vagrant Story? I'd like to see a redo. I'd like to see a redo of Vagrant Story.
Honestly, just how Robbie thinks that FF7 does not need a remake. Do not touch Chrono Trigger because it's a masterpiece on its face.
No,
can
you know
remake
what?
that.
That's
Yeah,
it.
I
That's
like
it.
that.
I'm starting a change.org.
Yeah, that's one of those like.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger has a few plot holes that bother me. That they could
Skuro,
fix.
I have not and will not pre-order the FF7 remake.
There we go. The PS4's upcoming sequel to Nier will be developed almost exclusively by Platinum Games, makers of Bayonetta, despite being produced by Square Enix.
That's okay. I'm okay with this. I am
Seem
totally
like it's
okay
so
with this.
far away though.
I see what you did there. I have the first Nier game, and I've been meaning to play it on stream, and I do want to play it on stream. And I'm excited for the new Nier game, and I liked what Platinum did with Metal Gear Rising. I liked what they did with Bayonetta. It seems like this is going to be good.
Platinum
I'm
is
excited
one of those
for
game
this.
companies that really does feel like they're buying themselves some credit.
Yes.
With the gaming base, like everything
Yes.
they touch, like no, they're doing good work with this. They're legit.
Yeah, that's one of I think Treyarch used to be one of those studios where you were like anything that they touched, they were like, oh god, this is gonna hurt.
It was like Rareware is the
bad.
gold standard of that. Where just Oh, you mean things that turn bad?
It turned bad. Oh, yeah. Treyarch could just, like you hear that Treyarch's on a game, and you're just like, oh no.
Don't touch my franchise.
But Platinum has really done right by the other IPs that they've gone on to. So okay.
Fallout 4 has gone gold, so it's out of development. It's going to be going to CD production pretty quickly here, or
great
disc production. As has the new Need for Speed reboot.
Cool.
Those games will both be looking at their release dates in November.
Give a shit about Need for Speed.
I actually found myself surprisingly excited for Fallout 4. I mean, I know it's been announced for a while now, but it was only just like 3 days ago that I realized how soon it's coming out.
Fallout 4 is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm like, fuck, I don't think I'm going to have the money for this.
It's really going to be a good November games-wise here.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go out and like sit on the street corner for a minute or two.
Yeah, I'm into it. I can't wait.
For anyone coming to Youmacon, for $10, I'll give you 3 hours, whatever you want. So
that's it.
Wow, you are cheap.
Hey, I just need enough for Fallout.
Jeez,
I just need enough for Fallout.
That's a lot of work.
You make like $40 a day, man.
Good God.
Like, have some respect for yourself.
Yeah, that's terrible.
I'm worried about your self-esteem.
No, fuck that. I'm gonna fucking take you up on that. Make you do whatever the fuck I want for 3 hours. Why don't you clean the fucking gutters?
We're gonna be at Youmacon.
I know.
I can't clean the gutters from Youmacon.
Yomacon's gutters. Figure it out, bitch.
Where did this conversation?
Yeah, that's weird.
I don't know. We're getting off the news.
Yeah, this is very weird.
This weekend marked the beginning of the alpha testing for the new Doom game. Bethesda's got the alpha running across all major platforms currently. So that's exciting. New Doom game.
Looking forward to Doom on the Wii U.
Yeah.
Doom 3 was good.
I said major platforms.
It's a major platform.
I guess. Yeah, sure.
As long as you have more than 8 gigs of hard drive space, it is.
No.
And all of our dreams have come true as a Pokemon gym has officially opened in Osaka, Japan.
For all the weeaboos.
The Family Edutainment Center allows fans to come in and play both video and card game versions of the game and features a smartphone app which allows trainers to track their stats and rankings within the gym.
Wow.
Thus far, there is no word of being able to actually earn a badge.
Now, when
What's the
Pokemon
fucking
Go
point,
comes
then?
out, can you take that to the gym and actually fight the gym?
See, that's what people all over I've heard saying, like, as soon as Go comes out, they're opening a gym and they're going to make badges to give away to people. And I'm
But
like,
this is
you're a
so-
nerd,
That's so
but okay.
cool. Like opening up like community like leagues and stuff like that.
Yes.
That'd be sweet.
There's a lot of cool stuff
that's
you could do
kind
with
of
Go.
cool. Like I dig the idea.
Hold on, can you even like fight each other in Pokemon Go?
Yes.
You can?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe.
You are
Is it-
so
You'll believe it
skeptical
when you
about
see it,
this.
huh?
I know.
Wait,
No,
is this
he
is
wants
this
this to be good so badly,
No,
and he's
he
not letting it
doesn't.
hurt him.
Hang on, is this all around Pokemon Go?
No, I don't think so. This is something
This is
completely
just for,
independent.
this is for Pokemon fans in general
Yes.
across the board.
Yeah,
okay.
but
Yes.
like all right, so Pokemon Go should be something that of all people, Kristoff should be excited about.
Yeah.
And he just disdains the idea so much, but I know
He's
why.
afraid it'll hurt him.
No, exactly. It's out of self-preservation.
Yeah.
Because if it's good, awesome.
I win.
He wins. But if it's bad, guess what? He was right, and he
win.
protected himself from it.
I guess that's sound logic, but I don't
I
know.
win.
It seems like a cool idea.
Yeah.
And especially like on the, like we're on the cusp of Pokemon Go. It seems like that'll be a cool addition to it.
And you know what?
I wonder if something like this will end up springing up stateside.
One of the coolest
In California,
ideas
maybe.
and concepts
probably.
that really sold me on the idea of Pokemon Go is that like now you're actually gonna have real stories behind your Pokemon.
Yeah, that's true.
I read,
Yeah,
I think it was
good
like
point.
a Tumblr post about someone being like, imagine you're on vacation in France with your family, and holy shit, something pops up you need, so you take a detour down a side alley, and you end up in some quaint little coffee shop that actually ends up being really cool, and that's why I named my Blossom Garcon or something like that.
On the other hand, you take that small alley, you end up getting knocked out and butt raped, and now you have an Oddish that represents your butt rape.
I just
So now you
imagine
have
being
gonorrhea.
in this little coffee shop. But I
And
just
that's
imagine
why
being
your
in a little
Oddish is
coffee
named
shop as a
gonorrhea.
normal.
Yes,
And then
that's right.
seeing someone with their phone like attacking the air. I don't know what it's going to look like to watch people.
Oh no!
it's gonna be silly.
I'm sure it's gonna be based on geotagging, and it's gonna be a regular app. I don't think you're gonna have to like talk into your phone like Magikarp, I choose you.
That would be amazing.
I think that would be
and then like it engages the gyroscope, so you have to like make the throwing gesture.
That would be the best thing ever, which is why it won't ever happen.
God! Well, it would make anyone wanting to play it look like a total fool.
You have to hold your phone like this, and you have to turn your hat backwards before you make that throwing motion.
There was a comic I saw with these two dudes like in the bar, and this girl keeps looking. He's like, dude, I think she wants you. And he goes, no, she doesn't. Flips his hat around backwards. She wants a battle. And then if you look back, you notice like the girl has like a necklace with a little like tag thing on it, and he has it like hanging from his wrist. And then like everyone on the dance floor separates, and they're like out there with their phones.
Oh my gosh, is that a real trailer or is that a fan?
No. That was a comic that somebody made.
That's funny. That's funny.
That'd be an awesome trailer though.
That would be. Oh my gosh.
The Street Fighter V beta is going to be available for PC with pre-order, or it is now rather. So if you're into Street Fighter, that's good news for you. And
fighting games.
Yeah.
Means nothing to me.
In the ongoing Konami Kojima clusterfuck for whatever debacle. So now it is being claimed that he did not actually quit. He's been on vacation.
Well, the first story was that his last day at Konami was October 9th. Right. And that there was a going away.
Twitter pictures of a going away.
That there was a going away party.
Konami did not know about that. Okay.
And also it says in this news report, I believe that was on the New Yorker, said that the CEO and the head of Konami were not present at this going away party for Kojima. And then a day or two after this story in the New Yorker comes out, Konami comes out and issues a press release saying, no, he's not. He didn't quit. He's just on vacation. He's taking a long vacation.
He didn't quit. He's going over to start Final Encounter Cast's new Twitch channel.
It wasn't a picture of Kojima's going away party. It was Luke from HR's birthday party.
They were celebrating both his birthday and his promotion.
Oh, that's funny. No, too funny. Yeah, that is so weird. The
shit that's going down over that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about this a little bit after the David Hayter interview, because I do want to put a bit of an end cap on our Metal Gear discussion that we had last week. But does that take care of the news for us, Callie?
I've got one more.
One more.
Bit of thing. All right, it's just that the new native Twitch app has gone up on the PlayStation 4 finally.
That's good. I wish they would put out one for PS3.
That would be nice. Yeah. I wouldn't count on it.
You know what? I know that we talked about it, on our other show, Limit Break Radio, but I mean, it's just still gaming news in general. So I would just like to toss out there that Final Fantasy XI on November 11th is getting its end cap patch.
Oh, yeah.
It is
After
indeed.
that, after what? How 13, 14 years it's been going for?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And the way that the game's structured now, you can pretty much fly through it. If it's something that you've ever been curious about, get that in, because I don't know how much longer the servers are going to be up.
Does an MMO actually get an ending?
I know. Yeah.
Has it ever happened?
It's pretty unique.
This might be one of the first cases of it happening. Yeah, even if you were a player at one point and you quit, it's worth, you can do everything by yourself. You don't have to worry about groups. Don't worry about it. Just get on, play for a little bit, get caught up. You'll get caught up quick, and enjoy the ending of the game. Enjoy saying goodbye to the game in the right way.
Get on and get off.
Yeah. All right.
Get on to get off. I like that.
Thank you very much, Callie, checking in at the news desk and keeping us up to date in everything that's been going on in the world of gaming in the last couple of weeks since we've done a Final Encounter cast. So we had told you at the beginning that today we're going to be talking to David Hayter, and on the last show we talked about the SAG-AFTRA strike that has now been initiated.
Hold on. No, it's not just been authorized. It's been initiated.
No, I'm sorry, not initiated. Okay. It has been authorized by SAG-AFTRA. So we're going to get deep in with David Hayter about that. And before we start off here, I would just like to thank David for his time. He was very, very generous with his time. And, this is a really, really important issue, guys. So I really want you guys to listen closely to what David has to say. So here we go. Here's our interview with David Hayter. So on the last episode of Final Encounter Cast, we talked about a proposed voice actor strike against the video game industry. We want to follow up on that conversation by talking about the vote that went down on October 7th. The initiative has been passed by a wide margin, a 96% 50% margin of those who voted to give the union authority to strike. That's a fairly high number and a huge impact on the video game industry. And joining us today to talk about this issue, we've got one of the most notable video game voice actors ever, David Hayter, joining us today on Final Encountercast to break down the SAG-AFTRA strike. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
The honor is all ours. Let's be honest.
That's on us.
Let's be honest. Yeah, the honor is all on this side of the table.
You're very kind.
But I have to assume that you did vote. We're not going to ask you which way you cast your vote, but just going off, what you've posted on Twitter, your support for the I'm on Board 2015 and Performance Matters hashtags. What influenced you to vote the way that you did in giving the authorization for the strike?
Well, I was invited to attend negotiations between the producers, the studios, and the actors, and I was so appalled by their complete dismissal of the actor, and it was a room. I mean, it was a video game player's dream. That room. It was, Steve Blum and Jennifer Hale and Phil Lamar.
Wow, yeah.
Like just the top people, like the A-list talent, and and basically the developers. It's two lawyers that sit in front of each group, and then basically they're there to communicate with each other, and we all just have to sort of listen. Mm-hmm. And then discuss it in private. And, and the first thing their lawyer said was, okay, first of all, we're not even going to discuss any sort of increases in pay or any sort of compensatory raises of any sort. That's a non-starter, so it's not going to happen. So all we're going to talk about are the punishment that you'll get for showing up late or not paying attention while you're working, whatever. And, and our negotiator was very, very good, and we had spoken to him at length beforehand to sort of say, to illustrate to them that there are a certain level of voice actor talent that really have an impact on the sales of games and on the reality of games, on the immersive experience of games, and some of these games have enormous profit margins. And,
yes.
And so to dismiss those people so incredibly rudely really pissed me off. And, it's a weird situation for me because while I'm fairly well known as a voice actor, it's not my main job.
Right.
I'm a screenwriter. Right. Primarily a screenwriter, filmmaker, and I make a lot more money doing that than I do as a voice actor. I really, I'm a voice actor because I love it. But it's sort of my side job. But in my role as a filmmaker, I negotiate deals all the time. I deal with studios and I deal with business affairs departments all the time. And this rank dismissal of all this incredible talent was so annoying to me that basically I stood up and I said, look, after everybody had left the room and it was just the actors again, I said, look, when an opponent is negotiating with you like that, with just a scorched earth, zero give to their game, you don't have any option but to threaten a strike.
I was going to say that didn't sound like a negotiation at all.
It wasn't a negotiation. It was just purely insulting, and there were no points on which they were willing to. I mean, well, that's not entirely true. They were willing to discuss accommodations for vocal stress and things like that, a bunch of inside elements to the job. But
sure.
As far as changing the contract in any serious way, they weren't even willing to discuss it, and that really upsets me. So I said, look, this is your only form of leverage. If they feel like they can make a $100 million game with non-union talent, let them. And A, see what you get performance-wise, and B, see how long it takes you, because someone like myself or Jennifer Hale, we work so much faster and so much more efficiently than people who have just entered the business.
Yeah.
So, it was hard for me because I don't want to urge people whose living depends on this to authorize a strike, but as a businessman, I was like, I don't think there's any other option.
Yeah, that's definitely a difficult position to be in, because you do recognize that these people's entire lives and livelihood depends on their ability to act and get work and keep work, especially because, as you had mentioned before, you're not being cut in on the residuals of extremely successful titles, which, it seems like that happens for movies. It happens in almost any industry where you have someone who is performing. And the fact, I think it actually kind of surprised a lot of gamers when they first heard about it, if they've heard about it at all, that voice actors aren't cut into to the residual profits from a game, and that you're only paid your rate for the session, right?
Well, your initial fee, which they're so tight about allowing any increase in pay, that typically, no matter how well known you are, no matter how many successful games you've done, you're still probably getting scale for the game. If you're very, very lucky, or you're a hard ass like me, you might get double scale, but that's it. And then the game goes on to make, $500 million, and the CEOs of the companies are taking bonuses of millions and millions of dollars. And it's very difficult for your favorite voice actors to survive. And, when people complain and they say, well, it's such a cushy job, such a great job, I do it for free or whatever. Which, it is a great job, but it is work, and it takes a huge amount of work to get into the industry and to stay in the industry.
Absolutely.
And really what the situation is you put in 25 years worth of work and build a name for yourself, you're still making the same amount of money you were making that first year.
Mm-hmm.
You might be getting more jobs, but your pay rate is exactly the same. And I just don't think it's not fair. It's not good for the industry, and it doesn't allow, the fans to get as much access to people that they really love.
Right. Well, and so how did this kind of rocky relationship start to form? Because you've been involved with acting, voice acting in video games since really kind of it was at the forefront of the technology. Metal Gear Solid was the very first game that I can remember that was voice acted from front to back, and that was sort of a technical achievement at that time that blew away everyone and made a really strong impression. So being that you've been involved with this since the very kind of origins of it, what's kind of do you have any insight on the origins of the conflict, or at least the candor between voice actors and the video game industry?
Oh yeah, well, and I mean, just to clarify, I actually, when I lived in Japan in the mid '80s, started doing voices for arcade games.
Oh wow!
So, I mean, I've been doing it since video games were invented.
Wow!
When I was a kid.
Well, I'm really glad we had you on for this, because that's a really unique and important perspective to have on this.
Yeah, they needed I lived in Japan, and the Japanese developers needed people who spoke English. Quiet. All right. Sorry, Mike.
Solid Snake's training his wolves. Big Boss is training his wolves, guys. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm a musher.
Yeah. There you go.
So basically, what was the question?
How
have I seen this develop?
Yeah.
So basically, what had occurred? So in those early arcade games, it's just, we need somebody that speaks English to say destroy the humans or whatever.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really thought of as a major part of the game. And then as games got more cinematic, they started to create what is now known as cutscenes.
Right. It's sort of like the early voice acting was almost more like sound effects. You'd think of them more like sound effects triggered specifically at like at a keystroke or at an event in the game. So the move over to
there was a boxing game in the 80s where the ref would say stop, box, like that, and so it was that sort of thing. So typically, the voices were usually done by game designers. And then the PlayStation 1 came along, and I remember Resident Evil came out, and I was so blown away by that game. It was just so much bigger and so much more expansive than anything I'd seen, and so much more cinematic.
Right.
But the acting was. It was terrible.
Oh, it was awful. Oh man, was that first Resident Evil bad? Oh, I mean, no, it was a great game, but
I hope those actors aren't listening. But I'm sure it was all the director's fault. But it was so silly that it diminished the quality of the visuals.
Right.
And so, when Metal Gear came along, and they got me, and they got Jennifer Hale, and they got Christopher Randolph, who played Otacon, and all these people, it was put together by Chris Zimmerman, who directed all the English voice versions of all the Metal Gear games, and she knew all the best actors in town, so she pulled us all together, and we really made an effort to create a cinematic experience worthy of the visuals we were seeing, and then that was a big hit. People became very attached to us and our characters, and it became an element of the game, which was a selling point for people. Sorry, my dogs are horrible. But at the same time, the game developers were like, well, the voice is incidental, so we don't want to pay any extra. We don't want to. Incur any more costs than we have to.
Right.
Which is understandable. But as I started to realize the value of the games versus the amount of money they would make versus their budget, I was a little more savvy, and I started to say, well, I think you could cut me in for a little more. And so that's how it started.
So this kind of like combative relationship seems like it, like the dismissal from the game company's part. It almost seems like it's built into the relationship, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, and I think there was also a cultural difference from Japan to America, where people ask me all the time what's my relationship like with Hideo Kojima, the creator of the Metal Gear games.
Sure.
I don't have one. I barely met the man. I've met him maybe 3 times in my life, but the English language version isn't something he pays much attention to. You know, that may seem strange, but it's not. He focuses on the Japanese version of the game. So the fact that, I personally was asking for more money for the Metal Gear games just doesn't connect for him,
Gotcha.
So it's understandable how these things come together, and it's understandable for me as someone who has actually produced, movies and television and have had to pay people. You want to keep your costs down, but at the same time, the business evolves, and we as voice actors, I think, have deservedly built up huge audiences that will pay to hear us in a game, and particularly now that there's mocap. I mean, it's a lot more like being a movie star than it used to be.
Absolutely, and that's what that seems to be one of the big points that SAG-AFTRA is pushing for is getting stunt pay for vocally stressful sessions. Now, there's been this legend out there that I've heard for years and years about your recording of the Metal Gear Solid 4 vocal track, and that was so that old Snake's voice was so vocally stressful that you actually had a puke bucket in studio. Is that true?
No, that's
I don't know where I picked that up from.
I have a pretty good story along those lines. No, first of all, Snake's voice may sound vocally stressful. It's not, because I had a lot of theater training. I can do Snake's voice all day. It doesn't hurt me. But what does really impact me are the the action sounds.
Yeah.
So for a game like Metal Gear, we have to do like a full day of me getting shot, getting punched in the gut, getting kicked in the face, falling off a wall, getting electrocuted, throwing up, and so on and so forth. And so, and typically I write in the morning, so my sessions are always in the afternoon, right after lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been to Carl Jr. One day before coming in to record, I think it was Metal Gear 3. And there's a feature in Metal Gear 3 where you spin Snake around and around and around, and then he throws up. So I have to do the throwing.
Yes. Yes.
And I pride myself on realism, so I'm like, and I'm doing these things. And at one point, I just projectile vomited all over the mic, all over the studio. I mean, my burger and fries went everywhere.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was utterly humiliated. And I mean, this is all very expensive equipment.
Yeah.
Could they use those tapes?
Airtight room. Well, hopefully they did.
Yeah, hopefully that was the take that made it into the game.
The most expensive take.
Certainly the most realistic. But we probably got a pop on the mic. And then I was like immediately cleaning it up, and they're like, David, you don't have to do that. And I'm like, I really, really do. So that's the actual true story. But that's the only time I've ever barfed in the booth.
So tell us. I mean, you described a bit of a vocally stressful session where you're getting shot, you're being killed. But I mean, there are some of these games where it almost seems like there are entire characterizations. Marcus Phoenix comes to mind from Gears of War, where John DiMaggio is basically just screaming the entire game. Almost every piece of dialogue is screamed throughout that game. So what does a vocally stressful session look like for you, and what are the very real medical implications that comes along with something like that?
Well, when I audition with a voice, I try to do something I can sustain over a long period of time. So, like I say, the Snake voice I can do. I've got techniques that allow me to do it long term, and I can lose my voice if it's particularly stressful, but that's about it. But some people develop vocal nodes. Some people, blow out their voice to a point, like if you're doing something like what John DiMaggio was doing, you can blow out your voice to the point where you can't work for a week. And then, any other jobs you had have to fall by the wayside.
Right.
And, people can really, it's the same affliction that hits singers. You hear people, they develop vocal nodes, they destroy their vocal cords, that sort of thing. And then they're also fighting for, stunt support in terms of motion capture.
Right.
Because now voice actors have to do stunts. They have to roll around. They have to fight. They have to do these things. And in a movie, you would have a whole team there to make sure that you were safe. And in voiceover, that's not necessarily the case.
Wow. How often do you get booked on, or how, not you personally, but how often nowadays does somebody get booked onto a project for a voice and also have to do mocap? Like, how often is that a part of the job?
Well, I have no idea. I mean, I only know my own experience, and I haven't done a lot of it, though I enjoy doing the motion capture. But if you look at, typically, like the latest Metal Gear game, I think they all had to do the motion capture. I think they actually did it with the English actors for the first time after they got rid of me.
That's too bad. That's too bad.
Nah, whatever. That was a good one. So, when you're watching, like if you watch Batman and Arkham Knight, his voice and his body movements seem to match because they're doing a full motion capture. So, particularly for the AAA games, it happens a lot.
Sure.
And it becomes, a lot more than just sitting on a chair for 4 hours doing voices and sounds.
Right. I want to ask you about a practice that has kind of been going around in the movie voiceover industry. I was at a talk featuring John St. John, and this was right around the time that Wreck-It Ralph was out in theaters, and he had told a story about he went in to track a role. And what they ended up doing was they basically used his take as I think he called it a scratch track for a bigger Hollywood name to come in. You know, he got paid a flat rate for his session, but then that Hollywood actor got cut in on some of the residuals of the film. And I'm kind of curious. Right. I'm kind of curious. You know, with your own experience with the latest Metal Gear, do you think that that's something that's a practice that's going to start working its way into the video game industry? Because that, when I heard that story, it kind of sent up red flags to me, you know, specifically around Metal Gear, because it was like the replacement didn't make a whole lot of sense. And I mean, I'm kind of curious what your opinion on that is.
Well, I think that's a pretty scummy way to do business. And, you know, it's like you hire an actor to come in and design a performance for you, and then you pay a Hollywood actor much more to come in, and they get the credit for your performance and they get the residuals for your performance. So it's kind of similar to, you know, during the financial crash in 2008, you know, the big studios were running out of money, and what I found they were doing was they'd want to hear a pitch on a big movie. So they'd bring me in to pitch it, and then they'd say, well, we want to hear more, and I'd design the whole movie, and then they'd hire some writer who cost a quarter of what I cost to write my movie that I came up.
God, with. That's got to be really personally frustrating.
Well, it's infuriating because I get nothing for putting all this work into designing their movie, and they get to save a bunch of money. So that's. So
I'm assuming they don't tell you ahead of time that they're going to be doing that.
Yeah, do they just close that up front?
Oh, no. It's the promises that you're going to be writing the movie, and we just need to, you know, clarify it so that my boss can sign off on hiring you, and then they just don't hire you, and they hire somebody else.
That's horrible.
To make the same thing. Yeah, it's scummy, and it's nigh on illegal. So, I mean, it's essentially creative theft, but there's not much you can do about it because they own the rights to the movie. So you can't say, well, it's my movie. Anyway, I haven't heard that applied to voice actors before, but I can see it. I can certainly see that happening, but that's just flat out wrong. I mean,
it's,
you know, if somebody's good enough to design your performance, they're good enough to be in the movie.
Absolutely. And I think that was John's point as well. Was, you know, I spent all of this time characterizing, you know, the character and you know, figuring out that inflection, and then you just take my recording and for, you know, a big name Hollywood actor and just say, parrot this, you know, like that.
Right.
That's disappointing. That's not just disappointing from like someone who's, you know, into voice acting like me, but it's also disappointing for, like, I think if anyone knew that who watched the movie would just be disappointed to know that wasn't the person's genuine performance.
Yep, this guy right here, that was not something I was aware of, and that's actually one of my favorite movies, and now that's kind of like, wow, really?
Yeah, well, and that's why, you know, when people say, oh, well, you know, why put up a fuss? You've got a great job. Well, sure, that's true. But when people take advantage of you to that level and, you know, and are making a huge amount of money off your back, it doesn't feel right. And
absolutely.
That's the purpose of unions. That's the purpose of being able to collectively say, we want to be treated better, and we want to be appreciated for what we do. Because,
absolutely.
You know, I mean, I just crossed 100,000 Twitter followers who are primarily there because they love Snake. And so, you know, but this is the fight that they went through on TV, and this is the fight that they went through on movies and home video. And, you know, it's just, it's the continuing struggle. And now the voice actors have gotten to a point where they feel they've got enough clout that they can actually stand up to themselves. Well, which they didn't before.
Well, and I think you guys do. I absolutely think you guys do have the clout to stand up and say, hey, look, you know, we've helped brand your products. You know,
totally.
And that's a really important aspect. I mean, you know, people become attached to the characters that they play, that they watch vicariously, and you know, and you can't just change a characterization. It's like changing an actor and putting him in the same role and saying, "Oh yeah, that's just the same guy." Like, really? I'm supposed to buy that? Like, that's not supposed to take me out of the experience as a game player? And so, that kind of brings me, to my next question. What do you think of the coverage of this issue by either the games media or the media overall? It seems to not and I'm just talking as a casual observer who pays attention to the gaming media. It doesn't seem like as many people are talking about it that should. It seems like this is a really alarming issue that more people would care about if they knew about it, and it's not really getting the deep coverage. I see articles on on Variety, and I see articles on Kotaku, but then they seem copy and pasted among each other, and it's just like, who really cares about this?
Well, I think that's the nature of internal entertainment negotiations. I mean, I went through it when we had the screenwriter strike in 2008, and and everybody it doesn't affect people until their favorite TV shows go off the air.
That's true.
And then they're like, oh, well, why is that? And it's like, oh, well, the writers are complaining they're not getting paid enough. And then some people say, oh, well, to hell with them. And some people go, oh, okay, well, I hope they get paid more. I don't think, and you have to bear in mind that just because 96% of the electorate at SAG voted for strike authorization, that doesn't mean we're going to strike.
Right.
That means we have the leverage to say, look, we're going to shut down your productions if you don't at least come to the table reasonably. But I don't, that's the nature of entertainment. It's not really going to mobilize gamers in a huge.
Although I do think you have the
actors playing Nathan Drake,
Right. Although I do think you do have the opportunity with social media to mobilize far more people than you did 10 years ago.
No doubt. I tweeted about it, and I got 5,000 retweets, and I mean, you have the ability, and people love their favorite voice actors. So you have so much more reach, and you have so much more impact, and a huge amount of support, and I know the other actors have as well, and so that's gratifying. But I don't think anybody ever expects internal, entertainment negotiations to light the world on fire. It's just not the nature of the beast.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I think that if fans of these franchises and fans of these series knew that that the potential end product was in jeopardy, I think that would at least mobilize them to be a bit more vocal and maybe make Activision or EA, who want to hand out $4 million bonuses to their CEOs, or 1.5 or whatever it was to their CEOs. Maybe it would make them take the situation a little bit more seriously if they knew that their customer base was not exactly happy with their business decisions. So
no doubt, and they're anxious for that not to become a huge public issue, because it does, it's like if you change the voice and you lose 1% of your typical income on a game, well, that's way more than you would have had to pay in any residual situation or any bonus situation. That's the numbers are much larger than anything you would have to pay out to the actors. So. Yeah, they try to keep it under wraps, and and we try to save any direct threats to a company's business until the very last extreme, until you really have to go there.
Right.
Because in the end, we all have to go back to work with each other, and that's the tightrope you have to walk when you're negotiating with people.
Right. That's it's definitely an important issue, and I think the more people that are vocal about it, the more pressure that ends up putting on on these American game developers, that will hopefully you guys absolutely deserve to be cut in on these games that sell 2, 4, 6, 8 million units and make these gigantic profits.
Okay, well, and
let me make it clear that what the actors are asking for is, because the companies argue, well, a lot of games don't make money. well, that's fine. We don't expect to be paid then. But if your game sells more than 2 million units, will you pay us our scale rate again?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not a huge amount of money. It's not like they're paying out residuals for years and years and years. It's a very simple minor payout, and they won't even make that nod. So it's not like the voice actors are being greedy by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
All right. Now, see, I feel like kind of like video games and movies are a little bit different, because with movies, actors are like 80 to 90% of like the movie, but with video games, there's a lot of other people that go into making a video game.
What do you say to the critics that are like, what about the coders and the programmers and
graphic designers and the writers?
Yeah.
Yeah, well. First of all, I would take exception to the illusion is that actors are 80% of a movie. The reality is that people like screenwriters, directors, producers are on movies for a decade before the actors ever get there. They come in for a few weeks and get a huge amount of credit, as they should, because actors are great and we watch them because they're great. Mm-hmm. But they're not 80% of a movie's construction or final outcome. As far as so people say, well, what about coders, developers, artists, sound mixers? Well, my feeling, again, none of these are my primary job, but I feel like they, deserve to be paid as well as anybody, and that they have not only the right but the desert to receive better pay and union enhancements as anybody. So, for example, if you are an electrician and you work in the movies and you work regularly on big movies, well, you make one hell of a lot more than your average electrician. You have union protections and per diems and certain things that have been built into your contract which allow you to make, $250,000 to $500,000 a year. So, essentially movies are recognized as a hugely profitable enterprise, and everybody who works on them regularly in an A-list fashion does very, very well, and they deserve to. So, but then you get great big games that say, okay, we're going to go non-union across the board. They're paying their coders nothing. They're paying their mixers nothing, and that's not right either. So I have sympathy. Great sympathy for anybody who is attempting to make their living in this industry, and I feel like if your project is profitable, you should be able to make money. You should be able to pay for your car, have a nice place to live.
Absolutely,
So
it seems insane with the amount of money that the video games industry is able to generate with a successful product. I mean, I know that there's a lot of budget and there's a lot of overhead that goes into making like a AAA game, but you get a successful game and there's so much profit. There's so much so much of a profit margin that it seems almost just flat out greedy to not cut your production staff in on some of that. And like I said, I think that there's a lot of people who would be surprised to learn that voice actors are only paid for their session. And that's it. That they're not cut in on the results.
I'm not sure that I even realized that until this whole thing went down.
Yeah.
Same thing for me, Nico. When this was first brought up, and Nate mentioned that they don't really get paid residuals, it was kind of like, wait, really? They don't?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, to play devil's advocate and to speak on behalf of the studios and the producers for a second, games are not like movies. They come out and they do have a huge profit margin, but they come out essentially once. And that's it. So, a full-on ongoing residual situation probably doesn't make as much sense for them as movies, which you watch again and again and again over the course of 40 years or your lifetime or whatever.
That's a good point. I guess I never really considered that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is part of their argument. They're like, look, there's really only one window. However, then I do 9 games with Metal Gear, and then they come out with high-def versions, or they come out with the Xbox version, or they come out with this or that. And suddenly they reap a huge amount of fresh profits off of the work we've done, and nobody's cut in for that. So, so that has been part of my discussions with Konami over the years. I'm like, look, if you're going to re-release a game with my voice in it, pay me for the work.
Yeah.
Because because that deserves to be supported. So it's a little different, it's a little different financial model for movies or television, but they still need to, there still needs to be some perspective when you look at how those profits are dispersed.
And it seems like you guys take so many concessions to do this job that you guys just love. You guys just we can tell as gamers, we can tell playing through these how much when a performance is really good and when it like just totally makes a character, it totally drives the product home. And there are, I can cite 10 examples of terribly voice acted games that took me completely out of the experience. So when you guys say with the hashtag performance matters, it really does matter.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that the more cinematic and the more immersive a world feels, the better the game will sell.
Absolutely.
And like your friend said, actors are 80% of a movie. Well, they're not, but that's the level of impact you have.
Right. And, that's the perception.
Your characters, that's perception, and that's similar to the impact that a great video game character or a great video game performance can have. You listen to Nolan North do anything.
Yeah.
And you know that he is knocking himself out every time to make something great because he's a pro. He's one of the best.
When we first started looking into this topic too, when Nate brought it up to us, and a lot of the coverage seemed to just be focusing on the fact that you guys wanted more money, and it was actually an article by Will Wheaton that he put out saying that that's a part of it, but obviously it's all about safety too. You talked about safety when it comes to motion capture stuff and safety when it comes to stressful voice situations. But when I first started, I'm thinking to myself, well, if it's also about all this safety stuff too, why is it all hashtag behind performance matters? I've never played a game. Obviously, there's been games where voice actors absolutely have a huge impact on me. I am 100% in love with Jennifer Hale's Commander Shepard. And
yeah, sure.
But that game was still an awesome game, and I still would have played the hell out of it, even if the voice actor, wasn't great. And then, I think the very next day, the trailer for Halo 5 came out, which I've always hated the Halo games, just could not get into them. And then here you have Jennifer Hale and Nathan Fillion. I'm like, all right, Microsoft, you got me again. So I'm like, you're right. Performance does matter.
Right, yeah. No doubt. Because, because she's amazing. Nathan, those are both old friends of mine, and if Nathan Fillion's doing something, he's knocking himself out to do it and to do it great and to really deliver something that is going to make you love Halo more than you did in its previous iteration. So, and Will Wheaton's article was amazing. Part of what I loved about it was him saying, okay, look, is our job great? Is it fun? Absolutely. But take a great novel and read it out loud with all the emotion and energy and texture you can put into it for 4 hours. For 3 hours. Now do an hour of action sounds and see where you're at, man.
It's not easy.
It's exhausting, and it can kill your voice. So
we've had episodes of our podcast where we only go for 2-3 hours, and by the end of it, our voices are half gone, and we don't even do it professionally. I couldn't imagine doing it, sun up till sundown for days on end.
Yeah, and the difference between the podcast and the game is you're not being chased by enormous walking battle tanks all the time. Screaming or running or going over, shooting at people or whatever, and the level of intensity is extreme. So it's always funny because if I do 4 hours of voicing, I come home and I am wiped out.
Yep.
It's really taxing. Not that anybody should feel badly for me, but I kind of feel like I've helped generate. I've played my small part in helping to generate billions of dollars in profits for people. You can throw me a bone here and there.
Yeah, and that's totally reasonable. Absolutely. David Hayter, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time and expertise on the subject. Again, not just being one of the most well-known voice actors in the video game industry, but also being involved with television and film as well, and writing. Just a really unique and important perspective on this whole SAG-AFTRA issue. I'm kind of curious. Did you ever see John DiMaggio's movie? I Know That Voice.
I did. I was so mad I wasn't in it.
I was mad that you weren't in it. I was waiting the entire time. I'm waiting for David Hayter, and
I know it's funny, because Jennifer was telling me as she was doing it, and some of my other friends were doing it. But but like I say, I'm an outlier. I'm well known in this industry, but I don't really. I've met John a few times, and I'm an enormous fan of, particularly of Bender. But he doesn't really know me, and so I think I get an undue amount of attention in the voice realm.
Well,
thanks to Snake.
I was just kind of curious if you had thought that his depiction of the industry was really fair, because as someone who's been a fan of voice acting and a fan of narration, and I come from the radio world, so people sitting in front of microphones, that's a huge attraction for me.
Right.
So I was just kind of curious. Did you feel like it taught a lot about the industry to me. So did you feel like it was a fair depiction of what it's really like being a voice actor?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you got a lot of great, honest stories out of these people, and one of the truly great things about voiceover is people are super nice, almost without exception. Like, it's not like on camera where you get a lot of egos and you get a lot of competition. Like, people are so supportive of each other. They're just awesome. A genuinely sweet group of people. Otherwise, they get kicked out of the inner circle. People are like, oh, that guy's a jerk, I'm not going to hire him.
Right.
And so I think it was a really nice window into not only these people that have a huge impact on your lives and you don't typically recognize it, but as to who they are and how they live. And if you look at most of their houses, it's like, they're living in a little bungalow, making your world a better place.
Absolutely, but it really.
I'm not. My house is spectacular, but listen, I'm in a very different position. So.
Right. Well, and that did, of course, translate to the movie very well. That it did feel much more like a look into a very close knit community of people who really genuinely respect each other on a professional level. That was one of the big things that big repeating theme in that movie was just like, everybody knows everybody, and you get jobs from knowing people. That's how it's done.
Totally.
And
people that want to break in, you got to get to know the people, and
exactly.
Slowly you work your way in, and it's a very tight knit circle of really, really amazing people and just true professionals. So I hope they don't have to strike, because that'll be pretty hard on everybody. But I hope they get what they want.
Yeah, definitely. And there you go, all of you con goers. I just answered the very first question of every Q&A segment of every voice acting panel I've ever sat through. How do I break into the industry? So there you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Exactly. Well, what you do, essentially, what I always tell people is find a voice class in your town that is run by a casting director, and which ends with you getting a voice tape of a voice reel put together at the end, and that allows you to meet a casting director, meet some fellow actors, get a voice demo, and then you just start auditioning and hack away until
get in front of people. Yeah,
and don't be a jerk.
Yeah. Reputation is everything in this industry, that's for sure.
Oh, totally. Well, guys, thank you, and thank you so much for dedicating so much time to this. It's something I feel is important, and I really appreciate you.
No, thank you.
Giving us a platform to talk about it.
Thank you for giving us so much time. I mean, you're a busy guy, and to sit down and give us so much time like this is really generous of you. So thank you so much, man. Big thank you to David Hayter for sitting down with us for a whopping 45 minutes for that fascinating deep dive into the SAG-AFTRA strike that has been authorized by the voice acting community against the video game industry. very serious issue. And, I feel like it deserves a little bit more of a discussion after that. David Hayter bringing a lot of things to light, and I think giving a great first-hand perspective as to what it's really like working inside of this industry. I really hope you guys enjoyed that interview. It was definitely a pleasure for us to be able to conduct it. And again, thank you. Shout out to David Hayter for giving us the time to do that.
One of the things that I think really comes through in this interview is prior to this, because I've never played the Metal Gear games. I don't think that I've ever honestly played any game that he's voiced before.
Yeah, suck.
So I can't say that I'm a fan of his work, right? But as a person, like after that interview, I am definitely a fan of the man. Like that.
He's a very cool guy.
That was really a lot of fun.
Very cool guy. Very honest about everything. Very willing to talk about everything. There wasn't a single question that he even flinched at.
That was what really surprised me, is like right away diving into like some of the specifics of what the negotiations were actually like and how the video game companies actually handled and treated the voice
that
actors.
Was insane.
I
had no idea.
Like, it would have been so easy for him to say, well, we've got a pending legal situation going. It's not something I want to get too deep into. But no, he dove right in with it.
He drove, head first. He was so willing to talk about all of that. And, I think this is a huge issue. And, it's not being talked about very much. We've seen the articles at basically Variety and Kotaku, and they're the same. As I said in the interview, they're the same copy and paste interview.
And it doesn't do any justice to the situation at all. Because, again, when you first told us about it, like, all right, I was a little bit surprised that they don't get any kind of residuals or any kind of bonus thing, right? Because I'm like, well, actors do, so that's weird. But then at the same time, I was also just like, but it's just about more money. But it's really about so much more than that.
It is.
And even the money that they want, like, they don't necessarily want residuals to be paid for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Just their pay again.
Yeah, they just want their studio fee again. I mean, I don't think that's terribly unreasonable.
That was shocking to me. It wasn't even so much shocking that that's all that they wanted. Shocking that someone at this company would say, no, that's not fair. Like, how could you say no to that? That's not a ridiculous request.
And it's not even that they're saying no. Okay, it's not even that they're saying no. They're not even coming to the table to address it as an issue, as a grievance, and that's the problem.
The fact that the first thing out of their mouth is, "We will not speak of this."
Right.
It's just a cost of living adjustment.
Right?
Good drop.
Yeah, seriously. That was very contextually accurate.
I had to add that on the fly.
But the thing, I mean, like, honestly, it really is. I mean, this could, if they initiate this strike, if it moves forward, because we did mention that the authorization passed by an overwhelming margin, 96%.
A landslide.
That is a fairly
it's a decisive number.
That's a clear referendum.
Yeah, it's funny that you're like, we won't ask you how you voted.
Yeah, we have a pretty good idea.
Yeah, we can probably guess.
We can piece it together.
You want to know, playing the devil's advocate from the studio side, from the video game company side, right? The fact that this has been going on for so long. Now, granted, the industry hasn't been around that long, all right? Like, in comparison to, like, movies, for example. It is still a relatively young industry that's obviously growing rapidly. But for me, like, the biggest thing was, how is it that conditions haven't improved from the inception of this industry, right? Like, to me, that's ridiculous.
They basically haven't even really moved.
Exactly.
The only thing that moves the needle seems to be your own personal ability to leverage,
negotiate,
to negotiate and leverage money out of your contract.
That in itself is actually, therein comes the reason why I think they haven't, and why I think the industry is so apprehensive to start, because they haven't budged or given up anything in the 20 some odd years that voice acting for video games has been around. And once they do, where does it stop? And I think that's the real reason that they're scared to give in to any of these demands, is that once they do, they're going to start, in their minds, they're losing a lot more money that they now have to pay out.
And the floodgates will open.
Well, yeah, I think they are very worried about other portions of the industry coming forward and saying we want our fair share as well, which I think would be fair. I mean,
absolutely.
Hold on. The CEO of, like, Konami and them, they They need their $2.4 million
Now, hang
bonus,
on. Now, first of all, let's be clear. This is an issue SAG-AFTRA can only authorize against American companies.
Yes.
Which is why EA and Activision are the two companies that are cited around this issue. So Konami, Square Enix, they don't really play as much of a part because they're a foreign-held company. You can't strike against a foreign-held company, at least according to union rules. I mean,
right. So the way that this would work is, let's say Final Fantasy 15 would be released in Japan, but its North American release would be delayed because they wouldn't have the actors they need to do the English voiceovers.
If they didn't have the voiceover sessions in the can, I mean that I'm sure that project is so far along.
As an example, that's how it would
as an example, yeah. It could hold up localization efforts for a lot of games. That is very true.
Which means this could affect your MMOs as well.
It could. I mean, this could affect every single game that's in production if it moves forward.
It's kind of strange that 3.2 doesn't have any voice acting in it. I thought that was an interesting artistic choice.
But I mean, like, you know, there isn't a single video game these days that doesn't rely heavily on voice acting. And if you're gonna go hiring scabs, that is I don't see that working out very well for your game. I mean, let's every AAA title that has been in development that has that has a lineage to it, all of those voice actors would be off the table. You'd have to recast all of those voices. If you're doing new IPs, then you're working with less seasoned talent.
Yep.
And either way, that does not bode well for the final product.
And we talked about it a little bit while just was going on, that there was a time when the voice acting did not matter as much as it does today, or matter at all. In fact, like you talked about it in the interview when that first Resident Evil game came out. The voice acting was a detriment to the game, not a boon to it.
But we didn't know any better.
But what I think, like a lot of those companies, is they're still in that mindset of like, okay, having this voice actor is not. No one's buying our game because this voice actor's in it. They're not bringing anything to it. And that's not true anymore.
Is completely wrong. Like I mentioned in the interview, right? Halo games to me are so fucking overrated. I'm sorry, terrible games. I've tried 3, I've tried 4, do not want to play them again. The only reason I'm going to buy Guardians is because of the 2 voice actors in it. Your voice actors just got you a sale. Yep. Period.
Pay them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
You can't deny how much even people who don't know anything about games will know Jennifer Hale just because her performance as Commander Shepard, like you were saying, was so great that it was making news everywhere. So to say that the voice actor isn't such a big let's
be honest. Mass Effect was making news everywhere because of alien fuck scenes, but
alien sex simulator.
Okay.
But
it didn't hurt.
But
it's
yes,
true.
Jennifer Hale's performance was a footnote in that. In those news stories.
But these aliens are fucking, and Jennifer Hale is not bad either.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But there were articles written specifically just about how Mark Mear's good, but Jennifer Hale.
Yeah,
delivered. People were just gushing
talking about.
Yeah, but that article opened with, in between watching aliens fuck, you might enjoy Jennifer Hale.
Yes. Okay. Aliens fuck. We get it.
Yeah. All right. Anyway.
Well, it's his penis, and he can do whatever he wants with it.
Really the thing that the video game industry is willing to come to the table on is pretty ridiculous stuff, because it's like penalties for showing up late or being unproductive.
This is honestly what blew me away, because you're right. The whole performance matters, give us more money thing is such a small footnote in it. When they came to the table and said, like I said in the interview, it wasn't even a negotiation. They basically said, look, we're not talking about money, so just get that that idea out of your heads. This is what we do want. Then the video game companies had a list of demands. What?
Yeah.
Okay. Some of them. Let me give you one of them, right? And actually, Kooky was kind enough to link it earlier in the chat, but if you could do it again, Will Wheaton wrote up probably the best write-up that I've seen on this whole debacle thus far. It's not just regurgitated information, something he took the time on his blog to do, and I'm sure we can have that link up in the show synopsis somewhere for anyone listening on the podcast. But basically, it actually outlines some stuff taken like right out of like the email or memos or something that they got. But basically, video game companies want the right to fine voice actors up to $2,500 for showing up late or being inattentive to the services for which you have been engaged. And apparently that's as generalized as it was. So you check a text message, you post something on your Twitter, you know,
that's really
kind of
vague.
zone
Hey,
out
you know
for
what?
a minute.
At my work-
$2,500. Are you fucking kidding me?
If I look at my phone when I'm
you
driving,
text at work. Give us all your tips.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes I have to give away my entire check just because I'm looking at Facebook at the job.
That is so ridiculous.
Valerium in the chat says you're all living in a fantasy world if you think voice actors are what sells video games. 99% don't track that at all. And I'm not saying that it's any one voice actor, but an ensemble cast, yeah, that's gonna matter. You switch that up in between, a game that has a legacy or an ongoing canon, and people notice that. Even when it's one voice actor, they notice it. Look at how much people have talked about the switch between David Hayter and Kiefer Sutherland. I mean, that's just one example.
But think about, did anyone not buy Metal Gear Solid because of that?
There probably were. I don't know. There might be some people out there.
I don't think so.
Someone said in the chat a minute ago, I would have bought MGS5 if David Hayter was in it.
Oh, well
take another example. Like you mentioned the Halo series. Cortana is one of the most well-recognized voices in that series. So well-recognized that Microsoft used her as their Siri effectively in the phone. Like people know if she had her voice actors changed out, people would have been pissed.
It's not just like one change. I mean, if you're dealing with scab talent, then there's the possibility that that voice may change every single game. And if you have an entire ensemble change between every single game, how the fuck? I mean, people. Can you imagine if the latest Uncharted game came out and it had an entirely different voice ensemble? No!
And we're also not saying that, voice actors are the sole reason that games are sold. Obviously
Absolutely not.
But I can tell you, like, right now, me, personal preference, like my personal opinion, absolutely. Okay, like I said, hate the Halo games. Gonna try them, though, because of those two voice actors, okay? I played through Mass Effect 1, 2, and 1 and 2 with FemShep first, with Mark Meer, who was great. That was cool, right? But again, when I went through with Jennifer Hale with FemShep, it was like a whole different fucking level of the game. And now when anybody plays that game, right, I plead with them to play as FemShep, because that to me is like the definitive version of the game.
Fair enough.
Gives a whole different fucking level. So absolutely, the voice actors do matter. Are they going to make or break a game?
Nowadays?
No, it's not going to make or break a game.
No, it really is. Try to make a game nowadays on the PS4, Xbox 360 without voice actors. You can't do it. It's not going to fly.
Well, but I mean, it's not that they wouldn't do it with they would do it without voice acting. They would do it with less seasoned talent.
Yeah,
or they would have to break their bank and get actors, like Hollywood actors, screen actors. And I mean,
every time they get people we've never heard of, though, people just bash on how horrible.
Absolutely.
Like, I play with the sound off because the voices are so bad.
But here,
why wouldn't you want a memorable experience for your players, like with FemShep, in every game you make? I don't understand why anyone wouldn't want that.
Let me just and here's one of the things that bothers me about Metal Gear Solid 5 is that, for all of the big fucking deal that they made for getting Kiefer Sutherland in the booth to voice Snake, it was a lackluster performance that I guarantee you drove the budget of that game up enormously. And I have to imagine that the two biggest line items on that budget were Kiefer Sutherland and what they were paying him, and all of the licensed music in that game. Those are the two biggest factors that I think would have just drove the budget for that out of control.
They could have paid Hayter less money and got a better performance.
I think they could have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I heard that Kojima actually bought the rights for a lot of music and then didn't end up using them.
Which, that's insane too. I mean,
that's so much budget wasted.
We'll talk a little bit more about Metal Gear Solid 5. But
one of the other big items that was on the list too, and this one goes into like levels of like questions of like free will. Like, is that not so? Let me just read it for you, okay? Video game companies want the right to fine the union $50,000 to $100,000 if an agent doesn't send certain voice actors to certain auditions.
That's insane.
That's fair.
What?
That's insane.
I can see that.
No, that's insane.
Juxta, you're a voice actor now, okay?
Okay.
And they want you to voice some stuff for League of Legends.
Ew.
No, you got to do it.
You have to go.
You have to go do it, or else it's going to cost the union $50,000 to $100,000. Okay.
Not yet. You have to go to that audition.
But I don't want to.
Callie, there's a game coming out that takes a very negative stance towards transgendered, and they want you to play the protagonist.
Oh, not only that, but by the way, the audition is happening on your mother's funeral.
Yep.
Oh,
you gotta go.
Gotta go.
You gotta go, or it's gonna cost us
$50,000. Sure, yeah, I'll go do that.
And if you think for a second that union isn't going to turn around and fine that specific voice actor that initiated that fine in the first fucking place, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You're absolutely wrong. You know, there's
burn notice.
There's an issue that's going around with composers, with music composers, that their union is fining them for what they classify as non-union work, because work for the video game industry, they can't come to the union in the video game industry can't come to a working agreement. So any composer that is currently composing games for the video game industry is doing so as scab talent, and therefore is sometimes being threatened or fined with up to $20,000 in penalties. This is what is happening to our industry. This is what's happening to our community, guys.
What I want to know is, how does a human being sit down and come up with that rule? If they don't send us a specific voice actor, let's fine them $100,000.
Well, I'm a big CEO company, and I have a schedule to keep, and you need to come to my table when I need you to. Otherwise, what the fuck are you doing?
No, I get that from like a corporate mindset, like when you're looking at them as an entity, okay? But when you're the actual person, you're an actual human being sitting in your office, and you look at this paper, like let's say you have the final say-so on whether or not we're going to try and put this into a fucking contract, right? How do you as a human being say, if they don't send us someone, if someone decides they don't want to work, with this director, they don't like the subject material, they can't make it for whatever reason, that we're gonna fine them $100,000? How do you as a human being say, yeah, that sounds fair?
I wouldn't. I would say, you know what, we could bump that a little higher.
You're a dick. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is. I can't believe that they're getting away with this shit. If you're curious what I'm talking about, here's a video that the Grammy nominated composer, let's see, where's his name? Austin Wintory is facing a $50,000 fine. Now this was posted about a year ago, this YouTube video. But I think
how long is this stuff between the video game company and the composers
and the AFM? That's been going on. This was posted June 9th, 2014 was the first time that I've heard of this.
Wow. So a year?
Yeah, so a year. And I mean, this video only has about 100,000 hits, but it does outline. I mean, he has composed for a lot of really notable games, and in here he outlines how he is facing a $50,000 fine from the American Federation of Musicians because the AFM and the video game industry can't come to a working terms agreement. Now, when I saw this, I initially thought, wow, this is a really untenable situation for anyone who's a part of the AFM, but it makes me kind of, with all of this stuff with the SAG-AFTRA union coming to light, it really sort of casts that in a different light and makes me think that what the video game industry is coming to the table with, or not coming to the table with, for the AFM is what is causing them to walk away and not come up with a working agreement. So now, you've got these composers that are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because they want to continue working in games, but who's really responsible for that? Who's really responsible for for not listening to actors as they outline a lot of their grievances when doing the work. It's not like this has been this has just been a thing to come around in the last 20 or so years. This has been a long-standing problem, and no one, it seems like no one industry side is doing a fucking thing about it. Well, that's alarming.
It's not even just the people who want to continue working in video games. How about all the composers out there who are just trying to make their living, and that's the work that's coming their way.
Yeah.
Like if I'm trying to make my living as a composer and someone says, hey, I'll pay you money to compose music for my game, I'm not saying no.
Right, exactly.
But in doing so, you're actually weakening the union's strength, because you're saying,
well, when the union starts taking care of me, then I'll maybe.
But here's the thing now. Now, if they ever do work this out though, and the video game industry starts then hiring those composers through the union again, guess who's not going to get any jobs now?
Well, not only that, but if composers are just actively ignoring the union strike, then that negates the point of the union strike, because then the strike has no power.
Now, at least with the composers union, it's just the video game industry that's been cutting out. Obviously, movies still need them.
Right.
All television shows, all kinds of different stuff.
Again,
as a voice actor, though, you're just pretty much fucked.
I just kind of want to take a second and thank you, Kooky, in the chat for linking this. But I just want to talk a little bit about Austin Wintory's, some of the stuff that he's worked on. The Banner Saga, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, let's see, Saints Row.
Kooky found this and linked it?
Yes.
Holy shit, Kooky.
Journey, he did, that's what he won the Grammy for.
That was pretty big, too.
That was huge.
Yeah.
Flow. I mean, these are not small games. Like, these are fairly significant games, and he is facing down fines of $50,000 for working on them and for actually putting his name on it. Now, I think that's fairly troubling. And going along with the SAG-AFTRA stuff, all of it is just very, very dismaying. And I think that these are issues that all of the video game community needs to be plugged into and thinking about.
One of the other big issues too, which David touched on very briefly in the interview, was with how quickly the voice acting industry is changing and evolving, because nowadays, they're doing the motion capture stuff, and they want the voices to sync up with the type of stunts that are, being motion captured.
Right.
They have the actual voice actors doing these motion capture results,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But apparently, doing stunts in video games and stunts in movies, when they are essentially the same thing, motion capture wise, are, I guess, classified as different things, so you don't get the same safety precautions and benefits motion capturing for video games as you do for movies.
Right, it's called hazard pay.
What the fuck?
Stunt people in the movie industry get stunt pay. It's basically like hazard pay.
Or I'm pretty sure in the Will Wheaton article too, like just what the fuck?
Yeah.
They don't even have the same safety precautions.
Exactly.
Yep. It's fucking ridiculous.
It's alarming, and that's why we're devoting so much time to it. I mean, this
is something that everyone who's watching this podcast, who's watching this stream, should be upset about.
Yeah.
Not even because it could affect your video games. These are fucking human beings that are being treated like less than that. Like,
that we claim to,
that fucking tools.
That we claim to admire.
Yeah.
That we claim to love.
You should be taken to social media, to Facebook, to Twitter, fucking Tumblr, whatever, and hashtagging the fuck out of Performance Matters.
Yeah.
Calling people out on this bullshit. Okay, look, a couple years ago, Mass Effect came out and you didn't like the fucking ending, so you all rallied together to get one fucking company to change their goddamn ending, and it was like the goddamn apocalypse on the fucking internet, and that was fucking everywhere. And within the course of less than a month, you had major retailers like fucking Walmart and GameStop and shit lowering the price of Mass Effect to $30. Fucking Borderlands, the pre-sequel that's been out for more than 6 months, is still at $60, okay? You have the voice and the power and the resources and the goddamn influence to do it, so get to your fucking keyboard and fucking do something about it. Help these fucking people out. Goddamn.
And that's kind of the fucking problem with the whole Twitter thing, is that, people want to get behind their keyboards when it's something that they feel personally affects them.
They made a racist joke.
And until the voice actors go away and we start seeing shitty performances in video games, subpar performances in video games, until it starts affecting the actual product or it starts pushing back release dates for shit, no one's going to say anything.
Nope, but once it does, suddenly you're going to be up in arms and be like, what the fuck is happening? Why is this going? Blah, 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 blah. I'm not giving you my money. Where the fuck were you 5 months ago?
Remember when the Screen Actors Guild was on strike? Was it like 2011, 2012?
Oh my gosh.
The writers
you
strike.
take away people's fucking TV shows.
The writers.
Let's just take one thing into consideration here, people. You do not want this strike to actually happen. We need to pressure them to happen because when the writers' strike happened, that's where reality TV came from.
Well,
it's not just that.
entirely.
It's not just that, but the number of shows, like, okay, some shows they just had seasons were cut down, right? But there were some shows that did not survive that.
That's true.
No, a lot of shows died off.
Heroes did not survive that.
Las Vegas didn't survive it.
No, it didn't. No, it did. Did you actually watch that season? No, it fucking didn't. It did not survive. It did not survive.
It has a season now. I'm watching.
And you know what? It's fucking terrible.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's not.
No, it's terrible.
Don't. No.
I saw a review that said it picked up right where it left off. No, it's terrible.
It's bad.
I'm enjoying it.
It's bad.
Well, Nika enjoys bad stuff.
So I mean, that's what we don't want it to get to, and that's where you stepping in and putting the pressure on EA and Activision and all of these other big American companies. You put pressure on them. You let them know, hey, I'm not going to buy your products anymore until you sit down and come to the table. This is a serious thing. And you know what? I think the video game media is culpable in this too, because I mean, who else is spending 45 minutes trying to break down this subject?
Right. Because the video game media is so responsible when it comes to actually reporting shit.
Hey, everyone is just copying, pasting that fucking Variety article, and that's a goddamn
that makes so
shame.
light of the issue too. Like, holy shit,
I don't know that it made light of it, but you know what? It definitely didn't. It didn't outline how serious the issue is and how how much it could end up affecting the products that we consume.
Yeah.
And that
for the record, I had no clue there was a fucking strike on the composers or from the composers.
Yeah, this is the first time I had
no fucking clue.
It's not a strike. It's just that they can't come to a working agreement.
So they haven't actually officially gone on strike.
There's no strike. There's just no agreement.
So they're just not working together, basically.
Right.
Then how can they
find that?
Then how can they find?
This is what I was saying a little while ago. I'm not turning down the work.
Because the video game industry, all of that is categorically put into non-union work. It's classified as non-union work.
And as a union worker, you're not allowed to do
as a union member, you're not allowed to do non-union work. So the fines are actually coming from the union, which is fucked up on the union's part. But I think that's probably because they can't come to a working agreement with the video games industry. Who we've now seen is totally willing to play dodgy dealings with unions.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me in the least if at the end of the day the video game industry is also responsible for that debacle as well. And the point of this is that they've got so much fucking money that there's no reason that you can't cut people in. There is no fucking reason why asking to get your scale pay again is unreasonable. There's no, I can't think of one.
It's only if they sell 2 million copies. It's only if the game was successful.
Yeah,
if you sold 2 million copies, you made your money on the game.
Nobody's asking you to continually pay out for a dud.
What surprised me though is that when they re-release like HD versions of the game, they don't get anything for that.
Yeah,
I feel
that's
like
fucked up.
when
That is
you have a
shitty.
song, if you have, I feel like you should have the natural copyright for your voice, right? So if you have a song and you have the words and the people sing it on a show, you get money for it like forever. Every time it plays on a TV show, you get money for that.
Oh yeah.
So you think that every time, maybe not time ever someone even buys it, but when you re-release a new version of the game with like HD remaster of your voice, you should get something.
Even if it's just like whatever they paid you for the first time around, pay it again.
Just pay it again. At least
You're
that's
gonna make your
something.
money on it.
That blew my mind that didn't happen already.
Yeah. It's
Like,
it's irresponsible is really what it is. It's really irresponsible because, any good industry knows that you should take care of your talent.
Oh yeah.
And
still waiting on the retail industry to get that memo.
And to go along with the whole greedy corporations thing, video game programmers, among programmers like everywhere, they make something like a quarter of what like the normal median is for like an actual program and like an actual business.
Wow.
And it's fucking ridiculous.
Dude, video game programmers make jack shit.
Yeah. You do it because you want to make video games.
Yeah.
And it's...
I was in the computer sciences program for video game development. I dropped out.
Yeah.
It's shitty.
Well, and the thing is that we've heard for years about ridiculously long hours, personal relationships on the part of game developers that have been strained because of extremely long, grueling hours. And I know sometimes we make light of it, and we have our expectation as an audience, and I think that that's still all valid. But at the same time, like some of these people having to pull
80-hour weeks.
Yeah, ridiculous work weeks.
We were warned about it in classes. Like, hey, just so you know, you ever working for a major studio, those last 5, 6, 7 weeks before launch day, before you guys go gold, you better be ready for 80, 90 an hour work
It's
weeks.
ridiculous.
Every week, 7 days a week. Get ready for it.
Guess what? At that
that's
point,
what's coming.
You're making under minimum wage.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
For something you went to college for many, many years.
Yeah, and unless you somehow land yourself on an all-star team like, at Blizzard or like BioWare or Bethesda.
Even them.
Blizzard.
Even them. I've heard shitty things about all of them.
I mean, sure, they have awesome headquarters, but not everybody works there.
Oh, well, it's, I mean, so it just, I don't know. This is really...
It's because all the money goes to the top brass. Like someone pointed out during the David Hayter interview on our Twitch chat, the studio that did all the special effects for The Life of Pi, which did really, really well.
Yeah.
That movie did well, right? The studio that did those special effects doesn't exist. They went bankrupt. They had a movie, right? They worked on a movie that actually did well and like got, I don't know how much it won, but it got nominated for a shit ton of awards.
Right.
And they went bankrupt.
Wow. By the way, just some figures that were thrown out during the interview, but I'd like to refresh. Last year, Activision paid its CEO $4 million in a bonus. That was not his salary.
That's not his salary.
That's just one bonus.
That's good job. Have $4 million.
Have $4 million.
Good job for sitting in a fucking office and not knowing any jack about fucking video games.
And EA paid its top executive $1.5 million in a bonus. So,
and you know what?
Clearly, that couldn't have gone to $2,000 to your.
No.
employees?
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that programmer that just got his
third child.
Yeah, his third kid, and his Geo Prism just got towed because he parked it illegally on the street of the small.
And a pigeon just shat on his car.
Small
after he went to the car wash.
bedroom apartment that he rents with his wife and child. I mean,
who's also a stripper and paying all the bills.
That's who you're really penalizing. I mean, fuck those people. They don't need $4 million. They don't need $1.5 million. Not a couple. You can't dole out a couple of $100 to help them out. But you can definitely shell out $4 million for Activision's top
one
talent.
guy.
What the hell is Activision
Damn
done?
cost of living adjustment.
What is that? What's so important about the CEO of Activision? What the fuck has he done for the industry exactly?
He's actually hurting the company, from what I've heard, with all his shitty ass decisions.
Well, there you go.
So here's $4 million.
When's the last time anyone was particularly pleased with anything Activision did?
When was the last time anyone was particularly pleased with EA?
Yeah.
I can't see being a top CEO at EA and patting yourself on the back and congratulating yourself for anything that has come out of that company in about the last 5 years.
Really looking forward to the next Madden game.
Oh, hey, I just turned a profit and I pay my employees shit. Good job. Have a bonus.
The only company with worse customer service ratings was Comcast.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's pretty bad.
By the way, my favorite meme from last week was how you definitively win the war on drugs. You make them all legal, and then you force everyone to purchase them through Comcast customer service. There you go. We solved the drug crisis. That's the answer. So there's a little bonus from us at Final Encounter Cast. But yeah, I really think you guys should get involved at this point. Hashtag performance matters. Hashtag I'm on board 2015. Contribute to those. Let these American game development companies know that that you think that their employees should be properly compensated as opposed to their top CEOs, because this shit's ridiculous, man. And again, thank you very much to David Hayter for giving so much of his time to us. If you missed any part of that interview, you can check it out at our website, Final Encountercast. This episode will go up live tonight or tomorrow, between tonight and tomorrow. So you can go back and listen to that all at our website, finalencountercast.com. And while you're there, why not toss us a subscription on iTunes? We do have, our feed has been submitted to iTunes, and it would be so awesome if you would seek it out and go leave us a review. We are a brand new show, and being a new feed on iTunes, we want to get a lot of visibility. It's pretty tough to launch a video game talk show. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there are a lot of them out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to dominate in the Final Fantasy 14 market because, come on, where's the competition?
I know, right? Yeah. And so for those of you who are a little confused, we do another show for Final Fantasy 14. That's over at Limit Break Radio. But we've started this Twitch channel. We've also got a website that's up and running, and slowly more is being added to it over time. And so we hope that if you're interested in conversations like this, if you enjoyed the David Hayter interview, please head on over to Final Encounter Cast. Subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a little bit of love on iTunes. We really want to be able to grow this product. We really want to be able to share it with people and have more people find the show. And that happens if you leave us a review at iTunes. I can't stress how much that actually boosts our visibility on the iTunes marketplace. So please head over there and leave a review on our brand new RSS feed over at iTunes. And you can, of course, find a link to that at our website at finalencountercast.com. So I wanted to kind of put an end cap on our discussion from last week. Nika, you and I talked a lot. We shared a lot of words and feelings about Metal Gear Solid 5. Since then, you have completed the story. You, in fact, wrapped up the story that night on the stream. I watched you experience the very end of the story, and I understand that as of maybe about a week ago, you actually went and sought out episode 51. And so I have to ask you now, before we continue on, real quick, this portion of the discussion is going to contain spoilers for the Metal Gear Solid 5 story. So if you're currently playing through it, or if you intend to play through it, you may want to bail out now. We wanted to have this discussion after the David Hayter interview, and we talked about the SAG AFTRA strike. So if you are playing through MGS 5, just a bit of a warning, bit of a spoiler warning. We're going to talk about the very end and some of the revelations and what's been going on after the end. So Nika, what are your final thoughts on the way that MGS 5 concluded?
Okay, so on the episode, and you keep saying last week, but it was actually like
It was like 2 weeks ago.
Well, okay, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Where I was before was I hadn't finished Quiet's mission, I hadn't finished the Truth mission, and I hadn't seen the episode 51, the mission 51. So playing out all of that, I have a lot of feelings, and I mean, I have a lot of feelings because I was like crying on the last show about my feelings.
Yes.
So
just like a woman. Ooh.
Quiet scene really hit me hard. I thought it was perfect.
Okay.
And I did that part on stream, and I was like, no, don't do it. And there were people in the chat like, what's gonna happen if she talks? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. She can't talk.
Yeah.
I was like freaking out.
She's gonna die if she does. Yeah.
All right, major spoiler here, guys. If you're still listening, please leave. But it took me a long time to come to terms with the fact that there are two big bosses.
Okay.
There are a lot of people who who have accepted Big Boss as a title or as a legend or as a an entity rather than as a person, and that is really hard for me to wrap my head around, because I mean, I am a person who gets so into the character I'm playing that I like to, I kind of become the character. I pretend, I'm in the character. And when all of a sudden I realized I wasn't who I thought I was, I guess I kind of maybe had the same reaction that Venom Snake might have had, like, I'm not who I think I am. It was very off-putting, and it it was a really interesting method of storytelling. I'm not sure why
elicited an emotion.
Decided, and the thing is I don't even know if I still know what that emotion is, because I kind of stopped and I was like, wait. What? Why? And I was just I'm like, what? I mean, I was trying to figure out as I don't know if anyone could ever put themselves in Kojima's mind, but I'm trying to figure out from like a storytelling standpoint why he made that decision.
Are you still struggling with it? Because I mean, I to me,
not as much. It was just really hard for me as the player to kind of accept that.
Well, the narrative is based heavily on Orwell's 1984, and a big theme in that is misinformation and doublethink, doublespeak, newspeak. All of those are big themes of 1984, and so from the very beginning, I think he was setting us up for a big twist. And I think the disappointing part for me is that the twist was called almost 3 years ago. That was a little bit disappointing for me.
Was it?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, I remember having discussions even like around the time that Ground Zeroes was out, where people were like, yeah, you're going to be playing Big Boss, as in, it's not going to actually be Big Boss.
How would anyone guess that, though, before that was even...
It was actually they released. Remember, the Phantom Pain wasn't actually labeled as a Metal Gear Solid game for a little while. It had that opening sequence it was just labeled as the Phantom Pain. That opening sequence was what they labeled as the Phantom Pain before it became a Metal Gear game. And so there were a lot of theories that Ishmael, because at some point you start picking apart the trailers and all of the supplementary media for this, and there was a lot of theories surrounding who is Ishmael, what kind of role does he play. A lot of people came forward thinking that he was Gray Fox. Just a lot of theories, but one of the theories was that it was that was actually Big Boss, and that you're not playing Big Boss, you're playing those theories were as crazy as...
Wow, well, I never saw any of those theories.
Those theories got as crazy as you were playing as Decoy Octopus, you were playing as Chico.
Well, there were those theories that Chico was quiet.
Yeah, Chico was quiet, which is an absolutely bananas theory. But okay, so the truth. A lot of people have talked about the truth mission and the reveal that Big Boss, is not actually Big Boss. You're not playing as the actual Big Boss. And I really liked that reveal, even though I had seen those theories. When I had played through that moment, it was like, holy shit, those theories were right.
Yeah,
and that was really impressive.
I thought that the writing of MGS5 was very clever. So after I sat back and I looked back on it, I'm like, at the very, very beginning where you choose your avatar and then he goes, okay, here's what you look like, and you still look like Boss, for like 3 seconds I'm like, am I playing somebody else? And then I like instantly dismiss it, and I'm like, no, this whole hospital scene is like a mind fuck. It's just going to be something weird.
One of my favorite things,
and I just totally ignored that.
I obviously haven't played the game, but like one of my favorite moments with Nate was because someone on my Facebook had like posted a screenshot of the character creation process, and they were like, what the fuck is this shit? I just want to play a Snake. Fuck you, I'm gonna make Snake anyway. So the first time that we had come here, and I asked him, I'm like, hey Nate, by the way, I just wanted to ask you a question, because I know you've started this game, so this isn't gonna be spoilers, but what was up with the making the character at the beginning thing? And he like immediately turns it up to 11.
Well, because I was
he's like, I don't fucking know.
Well,
I just wanted to be Snake. Why the fuck are you making me create a character? I'm just gonna make it look as much like Snake as I can.
What is shocking about that is that there were a lot of people that had that moment.
Yes,
that was not just.
I had that moment too. I was like, wait, I thought maybe it had to do with MGO, and I was creating my character.
Exactly.
I'm like, I have no idea.
How did we come up with the same fucking excuses? That's what I don't understand. Like, I mean, yeah, it did raise a red flag, but as soon as it started off and I was boss, I was like, oh, okay, now I'm comfortable. Like, I felt like better. You know what I mean?
Like, I was so I am playing.
I was so relieved about that it was just like, oh, okay, now I can just like kind of concentrate on the story, and I wrote it off.
Yeah, I wrote it off, and then when I look back on it now, there are so many subtle hints.
Yes.
Subtle hints, like how he smokes an e-cig, not a real cigar. You know, there's just like little tiny things.
The AI pod
that you can pick up. The AI pod didn't recognize him.
He doesn't know Russian.
So yeah, he doesn't know, which we all kind of chalked up to the brain damage, right? But how would you forget like one language?
Yeah.
Like you're obviously brain damage isn't going to do that to you.
Exactly.
Obviously, the venom snake doesn't know Russian. The other one that I wouldn't have known, but Søren pointed out to me, is that there was a part back, I think in MGS3, where a snake says that he can't smell. He doesn't have a sense of smell.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When you walk into the parasites, he says, "Oh, I smell the sweet scent."
Oh yeah, you're right.
You know, so
you don't gain senses after a trauma.
Exactly. So there's like those little things that, like, if you have the theory, you put it together, but if you've written it off, you just don't think about it. And I just thought that was really clever writing.
Yeah, I agree.
So I like kudos for that, because even though I had thought about that theory for 5 seconds at the beginning, I quickly wrote it off and I never caught on again.
All right, Nika, was my anger justified at episode 51?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes. What the fuck? Yes. Like, it's like, honest to God, if they would have just released it as a cutscene without, like, honestly, we're running out of time. We don't have time to put in gameplay. Let's just put in a cutscene so that they have a conclusion. I would have been okay with that.
Like, I would have been more okay with it than,
What the, like, it like totally wrapped up, like, right, he flies off with Sahelanthropus, Eli takes it, and you're like, okay, and then everyone's like, oh, what happens with that strain of the vial he has of the English vocal
There are so
parasite?
many,
We don't even know, and then it's like literally every question is answered in this 20-minute.
There are so many there's like 4 plot resolutions. Not only that, but I mean they set up the fact that that boss can't differentiate between specific colors at the very beginning. I mean, like all of that.
I didn't even realize that was what was going on at the beginning.
But I mean, it's a weird reference that happens at the beginning that has no payoff, but there it is. It's in that scene.
That's one of the great things about stories like this is when it's all done, you look at all this evidence and you're like, why the fuck didn't I see that?
It's not even that, dude. It's why the fuck didn't it make it into the game?
There's
so many for the final thing, yeah.
Yeah, so many of those assets are fucking complete.
It's basically like, so Eli takes the big Metal Gear-like thing, flies off, and like crash lands it on an island where he's being surrounded by not only your people, but like the ciphered people.
Yep.
And he releases the English strain on the entire island and infects everyone, but the kids aren't showing symptoms because they haven't hit puberty. So I guess there's something in your vocal cords that has to mature before the parasite will manifest. But anyone who comes onto the island has that risk. So it's basically created this barricade. So if now we know what happens to the fucking vial. And then there's this whole thing where like Snake wants to save Eli, but then Eli starts getting infected and they're like, fuck, I can't do anything about it. So like he has to give up on him. And
they just like sort of leave him for dead.
Yeah. And then who knew that Psycho Mantis can just rip parasites out of your throat? But I mean, that's an interesting, I don't know if that is a well thought out plot.
He's psychic. Okay,
I guess because
psychic types are OP.
Because we're like, obviously, Liquid doesn't die; he's dying from this parasite.
Well, if he can create gigantic flaming whales, then I think extracting a vocal cord parasite might be within his realm of
power set.
Yes, his realm of possibility.
He can also control your controller.
Well,
he can read your memory card.
But yeah, again, episode 51, that's still pretty inexcusable, and there was
Kojima just wanted to teach you loss.
And I think that what's interesting is the novelization version of Phantom Pain came out in Japan. I want to say it was yesterday or the day before, and so Kojima released a statement along with it that and by the way, there isn't anything in the novelization version that really isn't in the game version, and basically said that it was his intention to leave holes in the story.
I don't believe that. all. There's no way that this is going to be his last game in the series forever, and that between MGS 5 and Metal Gear 1, there's a big gaping plot hole with a giant robot Metal Gear and a virus that could destroy half of the world.
Nika.
That he's going to leave that open intentionally. I don't believe that for a second.
But he didn't. Hang on. No. He didn't leave it open, though. I mean, it's there. It exists. It exists in a very unsatisfying form, but it exists. And it's canon. It's part of the story. Just because it doesn't occur in the game, it does mean that it's canon.
So is that chapter not written in the novel either?
I don't believe it is.
Okay.
That's fucking bullshit.
Nika, just listen to me for a second, okay? Because again, and I'm pretty sure we've had a similar conversation, right? But I don't know if you consider yourself a content creator, in terms of someone like a writer or an artist, who makes entire pieces. But it's coming from me as an artist, as a writer specifically. When I want to write any kind of story, I don't think I will ever want to write and have just a nice little bow-tied, perfect, happy ending at the end of anything, because what kind of impression does that leave? If you were to finish Metal Gear and it was perfectly wrapped up in a nice little bow, happy ending, blah, 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 whatever, just everything set in there, you know what you would do? You'd be like, yeah, great, awesome,
okay,
that was cool.
And you move on, and you
would move on to the next one. No, because I know I've never actually written anything to completion, but all the stories are all up here all the time, and I know how they start.
No, believe me, I
know
have
how
a couple
they
stories
end.
I started to and didn't
and
finish.
it is absolutely my intention with everything I ever create to make my readers or my audience to think, oh, fuck you. Fuck you.
No, I love that, dude.
Fuck you.
That's why I was like bawling my eyes out on stream that day, because I was like, fuck this game, I hate this game. Why am I
but that was different. That's not what I'm talking about. That was different. No, you're right. That's different. Because they just did something that made you sad, but it wasn't the end. I'm talking about with the end. Let me give you an example.
The whole product. The product as a whole.
The end of Arrow last year, right? Everything got wrapped up perfectly okay. Felicity and Oliver are together. They drive off into the sunset. He looks at her. He goes, you know what? I'm actually happy. Roll credits. Happy ending, right? All right, cool.
Boo.
The Flash.
Boring.
The Flash defeats the final villain, right? Was fucking amazing, by the way, okay? And then a giant fucking singularity opens up in the sky, and he jumps up in it to try and, stop it. Roll credits.
But is that the last Flash forever? No. What the Flash is coming.
Okay, but the point is, for the rest of the off season, did we give a fuck about Arrow? No. The only thing we ever talked about was the Flash.
I get it, and I would be totally cool with that if there was going to be more.
No, that's what you're not getting, though. That's the point, okay? If you want it to live on, you fuck over your audience.
Then why make episode 51
the thing is, in this sense, is that because this game is a prequel. So the thing is that how the world plays out. This is a prequel, and then all of a sudden there's a big, gigantic, world-destroying two things, actually, the big robot and the parasite.
It's fucking brilliant.
Floating there, that was never, then all of a sudden you pick up Metal Gear 1, and that was it's never mentioned.
Hang on. Let me ask you this. If episode 51 would have been included in the game, as you think that it was, you play through it, blah, 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 perfect game, would we be having this discussion right now?
No.
Would that last episode that we did of MGS, would it have been what it was?
No.
It still would have been, I think.
Okay, because we would have had an episode. Absolutely, we would have had an episode, but it wouldn't have done what the fuck it's done. It's goddamn brilliant.
Hang on. Well, you haven't experienced it, so in the abstract, it's brilliant.
Yes, in the abstract, in the theory.
Here's what Robbie's driving at, is that because the themes of the game are loss and phantom pain, that excluding a portion of the game that wraps up a lot of the plot holes very nice and tightly, excluding that as a playable portion of the game, definitely leaves the player with a sense of incompleteness.
He has essentially manifested Metal Gear Solid into you as a person, and to be able to do that as a director, as a writer, as a singer, as a performer of any kind is so fucking rare.
And he's kind of claimed that was his
was
intention.
not finished. Like, you can tell by the time you get
I
to
agree.
chapter 2 that it's rushed, and then all of a sudden they throw in rehashed, harder versions of missions you've already done just to fill in mission space. Like, the game isn't finished. It was supposed to be a playable mission that was supposed to leave you with like a big. I mean, every player wanted the big finale of Metal Gear.
There's also something that you have to consider, Robbie, that you're not considering, and that is Kojima has wanted to walk away from the Metal Gear franchise for 4 games. He's been saying that he said Metal Gear Solid 3 is the last Metal Gear Solid game, and everyone played it and went, well, what about the Patriots? You didn't answer a single fucking thing about the Patriots. And he went back and created Metal Gear Solid 4, which then he made a huge deal about saying, look, this is the last definitive entry in the series. I'm done after this. I'm walking away. I'm going to go make other things. Made this a very, very public part of his career. And then I think Peace Walker was literally the only Metal Gear game that I can think of in recent memory where after Kojima made it, he said he didn't say that, okay, I'm done with Metal Gear now.
Okay, but the other thing about art...
because the thing is I feel like Peace Walker was setting up what we got with Ground Zeroes and with the Phantom Pain, especially when you consider that Ground Zeroes was originally designed as a PSP and a PS3 game, and then just got pushed back to be able to put it on newer hardware.
Okay. Counterpoint to that, all right? Obviously, art is an evolving thing, okay? And the fact that the MGS mythology has spanned over 25 years, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, he didn't have all this in his head, okay?
Right.
Back when even, the first MGS came out on PlayStation, he wasn't thinking ahead to Phantom Pain, okay?
Right.
And the way that I even write my books is I don't plan this shit out. I just sit down and write, and stuff just comes to me, right?
Sure.
Twists included. So when he said, after Metal Gear Solid 3, this is the last one, he probably meant it, okay? Maybe people, said, oh, what about the page, blah, 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 and something came in his head, he's like, no, you know what? I can make more, right? Blah, 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 whatever. So what again, in abstract, in theory, without having played the game, everything that you guys have told me, this sounds to me like, from the point of view of a content creator, from an artist, fucking perfect. Like, this is a nearly fucking perfect swan song, right? To leave it like this is pretty fucking amazing what he's managed to do, okay? And maybe he didn't even realize that until near the end of Phantom Pain. We said before, maybe he was sitting in his fucking studio and suddenly it just came to him. No, I'm not going to put 51 in there. It's almost done, but you know what? I can do something more with this game. I can make these people that are consuming my project feel something more. Yes.
I honestly don't think he said that. You can believe that all you want with the theme of the game, but I just do not believe
that's what he's saying now. That's what he is essentially saying.
I don't believe it for a second.
But that is essentially what he's saying with the statement about the novelization version of MGS5. That's essentially what he is claiming. Okay.
You can claim that all day, and I do not have to believe it.
I don't know that I believe it either, because I smell some Konami fuckery going on, just as I smelled it the entire time. I mean,
So Nate says that if Kojima comes out and says that's what he meant, I'll take it all back, and now he basically has, and you're like, but I don't know.
He did not actually say it. And I feel like a lot of it, too, if he really is still an employee of Konami, that he's probably only allowed to say so much publicly.
So much misinformation going on at Konami right now between the two of them. How can you believe anything either of them says right now?
And that's the thing, is that, we really kind of... And here's... Okay, so this kind of is a perfect bridge into the thing that I actually really wanted to talk about.
All right, real quick before that, I just want to point out that Robbie... For his endings in his books, he wants to tear apart a part of everyone's soul that reads.
Oh God, yes.
He's a sociopath.
Oh God, I want to hurt people, like on.
You want to make them feel
on like a spiritual level.
I'm okay with that,
I want to break them.
But just taking a chapter out of the book, like not even the last chapter, but like a part, like you leave a plot hole and then you finish the book, but you just take out like the third to last chapter. Like you'll do that, then all of a sudden your people read the book and they just don't have a chapter. You're okay with that?
Here, let me read.
Yeah, depending on how it makes them feel. It's not like it's some arbitrary thing. Like what you take out has to be very specific, and in some cases it might not work. But yeah, absolutely.
And it's there. I mean, again,
and especially as a writer,
it does exist.
As a writer, like that happens so often. Like if you follow any of the like J.K. Rowling stuff, like there's so many things in her head that she knows about her characters that were never put into books.
Right, but she didn't just take a chapter and leave it out of her story.
You wouldn't know, though. You wouldn't know if she did.
Right,
That's true.
but the thing is that
fact,
right?
How about the fact that she actually? How about the fact that she's publicly came out and said stuff like, Hermione and Ron shouldn't have got together. It should have been Harry.
Right.
Like to her, that's how the story should be. To the writer
that's
who
weird
created
because she wrote it the other way. So
right? So I'm just saying.
But no, I think Nika makes a good point, though. We say we wouldn't know if they had taken a chapter out, but we do know this. Why then would he ever let us know that it exists?
Even without him saying it, we know simply because it's left so open.
Because that's what creates the pain. That's what creates the pain. It's not there. We'll never actually have the satisfaction of having that as a part of the game, but it still exists.
Here's the other thing. It could have been completely accidental. Maybe at first he didn't realize or want to do that, right? Yeah. But now that's what's happened, and it's so perfect.
Let me read the actual statement that Kojima gave. Okay, this is a quote. It's translated. Okay, so there may be some discrepancies between this and what the actual intention is. But here is the quote. There is a blank space, but it will not be filled. In that blank space, there is always a hero. Because there is a blank space, you can advance ahead. It is this blank space exactly that is V. That is his word. That is the translated statement from Hideo Kojima. The very last sentence of his very long statement about the novelization version of Metal Gear Solid 5. And I think that that's a pretty definitive statement that, look, there is intention. The blank spaces are intentional. And so it puts me in a tough spot as a fan because now I have to reconcile that. It is, I mean, as a real fan, it does leave you with a very affected feeling.
But you know what else? And again, it's probably different because I haven't actually played it. Okay. I understand where your frustration, your anger is coming from, right? Mm-hmm. But he still left you with something. It might be pain, right? But that's now something that you're going to carry with you.
He left way more than that. Okay, there is a subreddit called Never Be Game Over. Mm-hmm. And the Never Be Game Over, obviously a reference to the phrase that's written on the back of Eli's jacket. But there have been some very, very interesting things that people have found out, some very interesting inconsistencies that happen inside of the game, as well as hackers tearing apart the PC version of the game and looking at the data there and finding some very interesting things, including a title card that says Chapter 3 Peace in every single language that this game was released in. So, and there, when you look at the LUA programming for it, that title card is supposed to be displayed after the armament or disarmament cutscene. Now, that's something that we haven't actually talked about. There are two cutscenes that are included in the game. They have been data mined out, but nobody has actually seen these endings happen in the game organically. And there's a lot of theories surrounding, there's a portion of the game where you have to, you build up your mother base and you can build nukes and you can infiltrate other people's bases. You can steal those nukes. You can continue to arm yourself. And so there's a theory that when the amount of developed nukes reaches a certain number, or the amount of disarmed nukes reaches a certain number, that either the entire community is going to get the cutscene accessed to them. It's going to be pushed to them on
like
whatever,
a patch?
something like that. Yeah, and at that point, there, according to the LUA code, that it shows this title card chapter and initiates a whole nother chapter in the game.
As much as I would love for that to happen, I don't think it will. I honestly think it's an incompleted game.
That's an interesting way of putting out a DLC expansion.
Wait a minute. I'm not done. I'm not done. The most interesting thing, and I mean, this could be absolutely an Easter egg. I'm totally willing to cop to that. But I think that one of the most interesting things that has been included between both Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain, in one of the side ops in Ground Zeroes, you have to do some specific intel instruction. Basically, you find a specific guard, and the entire point of the side op is to interrogate him, and you kind of go on this wild goose chase to find a tape. And when you find the tape and you try to play it through the game menu, it sounds basically just like a fax machine. It's a data tape, right? There's no audio on it. It's just data. And when people took that data and converted it to actual readable digital readable digital data, it came up that it is the programming for an Enix game, an old Enix game from the MSX2 called Portopia. So some data miners were able to find this in Ground Zeroes with the data tape, and then at the very end of the Truth mission, when it shows the scene where Big Boss puts the Operation Intrude and 313 cassette into the MSX at the very end, there's a similar sound that plays, and when they extracted that audio, it was an unlock code for the Portopia data that was contained on Ground Zeroes. So that's Volume 1 and Volume 2. Now there is a Volume 3 that is ostensibly the second part of that unlock code that would make that game playable through an MSX emulator, possibly. But we don't know, nobody knows where the Volume 3 is. Everyone has been up and down
It's the
through that
Phantom
data.
Pain. There isn't one.
But I mean, how fast?
She says saltily.
How fascinating is this? I mean, like, this is, Kojima in the run-up to Metal Gear Solid 5 had stated that he wanted to do something that was unique only to video games. And a lot of people thought that, that meant he was going to push the narrative. But, I mean, what essentially the entire subreddit at Never Be Game Over is proposing is that it's not just that there's like almost like an ARG aspect of this thing going on too, where you've got clues that are hidden in the data, you've got clues that are hidden in the storyline, and people are starting to put these together, and it's allowing people to hope. Now, what's fascinating about this is that from a sociological standpoint, this could be just people trying to put things and put things together and connect things desperately to find a sense of closure, which I think is a really fascinating thing, and
absolutely,
and drives home how well Kojima did, by leaving that Phantom Pain
and
there.
As an artist, right? As an artist, that's a gift to you.
Yeah.
Okay. That's something. All right. Take Mass Effect for me, because that's usually where I draw the parallels.
Okay.
Right.
Every
Love
time.
the game. Okay.
Every time.
I didn't have such a big problem with the ending as everybody else did. Swear it off or anything. To me, Mass Effect, start to finish, was perfect and awesome, and it's all wrapped up in a tiny little bow, and that's gonna have a special place in my heart forever. Right. That's it. The end. Okay?
Okay.
He has given you guys in Metal Gear something much more potent than that.
But this isn't just Easter eggs. I would classify an Easter egg in a game like Doom 3, where you can find an arcade cabinet and play the original game of Doom. Yeah. It's something that happens within the game, but this is inherently different. Oh yeah. This is taking people and forcing them to apply coding knowledge, breakdown of codes, to be able to rip audio and be able to convert that to data. This is stuff that really only ARGs have toyed around with, and it's a meta-narrative, and this is really what drives it home for me. It's a meta-narrative that Kojima has been reaching for ever since Metal Gear Solid 2. Okay, now here's the only benefit of the doubt that I can give anything in this situation, because it all seems very circumstantial, and it does seem like people trying to desperately attach threads to be able to give themselves some sense of closure. But if Kojima has really been able to pull one over on us and leave an epic puzzle for us to solve on the level of MGS2 that speaks in a way that, look, we're going to manipulate media because there's a lot of really weird things going on between Kojima and Konami. I mean, he's worked there for 27 years. What if that whole thing was a ruse? What if that?
Oh my God, that would blow my mind.
Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? I mean, it would be Metal Gear Solid 2's ending blown up to the next level. It's insane.
When we called up that customer service rep and he followed that by the book, that could easily just be because they have to keep a farce or something. And honest to God, if there's enough, because the entire game, you don't have to be online to play it, but if you have a connection to the network, your game will be online.
It's crucial.
They can definitely keep track of how many nukes and shit are going on. So if they do have this disarmament thing happens, and then chapter 3 unlocks, and then mission 51 unlocks, or something stupid, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck? I'm gonna quit life.
Honestly, if that's what happens, there's also another really interesting thing that I noticed on some of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox 360 versions of the game, and that is at the very top of it, some specific copies have Day 1 edition. That, to me, brings up another red flag, because if they're going to patch the shit out of it and add more to the narrative, then there would be a definitive version difference between the Day 1 edition and whatever special edition comes out later. I
know if you order it in the store,
because we know, Kojima loves to re-release his products. So
usually Day 1 editions just mean it's like a pre-order and you get a special DLC or something.
I don't know.
Usually I've gotten Day 1 editions of other games that usually comes with extra
and it's
skins
hey,
or
here's extra stuff. Here's the next mission.
But I mean,
imagine if you woke up one day because you had to go to work, right? So you're getting ready, and for some reason, I got 15 minutes. You pop on and start looking through PlayStation Network. You see a little notification, little icon thing, and you go into Metal Gear Solid, and it's episode 51 or chapter 3, peace, and you have to leave for work.
Yeah,
would you be calling in sick?
Yeah, probably. Probably.
Well, I don't know about you, Chris, but I'm looking forward to watching Nicolas Cage solve this in the next National Treasure movie. Pretty sure that's where this is all going.
No, but I mean,
Metal Gear Solid 5 ending is on the back of the Declaration of Independence.
Oh my God! It makes so much sense when you think about it.
So much sense.
Sean Bean will probably die in it later.
But honestly, I bring this up because it has been a fascinating meta-narrative that has been evolving. If you want to look more into the evidence that is there, or the possible pieces that people are just throwing together, again, check out the Never Be Game Over subreddit. It's a remarkably awesome subreddit. Although I have to inform you that the wind was taken out of a lot of people's sails when this translated interview with Kojima came out. A lot of people very, very down on what they call the ruse cruise over there in that subreddit. But it has the most comprehensive cataloging of all of these interesting little tidbits, and I'm most interested to see what ends up becoming of the Portopia thing, because that is truly something that's never happened in video games before.
Yeah, and if there is something to it, someone will figure it out.
Someone will figure it out, absolutely. And again, I think that just when you put it right out there, like he did with those 2 tapes and those 2 pieces of audio data embedded right into the game itself, I think that tells the audience, you should be looking for more. There is more to look for here. And, with what people have dug up in terms of code, I don't know. I don't want to provide anyone with hope on this either. I don't want to, in the chat, I don't want to provide anyone with false hope.
No, it's great.
But it's really fascinating.
This,
it's really, really fascinating.
I can only dream to do a fraction of this as a content creator sometime in my life.
And the other thing is that up until now, DLC has always been looked at as supplementary content, and it would be a really interesting twist if the DLC ended up being
mandatory content.
Narratively heavily tied into the game itself. And I'm sure that if that happens, Konami will receive no end of criticism. Kojima will receive no end of criticism, because it's like, God, I already paid you $60 for an incomplete product. Fuck you. I don't want want to pay another $25 for DLC.
I don't care. I would pay.
You'd pay.
I'd do it. I would pay it. I would absolutely pay it.
The rage has subsided and been replaced with just need and lust.
I would like to point out, though, to the chat that I am not a sociopath. Okay,
you are.
No, sociopaths don't care about
You're
what,
a psychopath.
like. No, I'm not a psychopath either. Wait, no, that might be apt. Sociopaths don't have feelings, and they then use their other people's feelings to manipulate them and get what they want. Okay, but they don't actually feel anything. Okay,
Psychopaths have too many feelings. Right? Over feelings.
Yeah, I don't think a sociopath gets pleasure from watching other people wreathe in agony and heartbreak and stuff. That's what I get. So
you must be a psychopath.
That does not sound any better.
Yeah, no.
Well,
congratulations.
I'm honest, okay?
I'm not sure what to make of it. I'm keeping an eye on Never Be Game Over. There's a part of me that wants to hold out hope. There's another part of me that says no, this was the intention.
And you know what? That's brilliant.
You know what? Konami probably just ran out of money.
Fuck off. Good.
Thanks, Kiefer.
Good addition, Chris. Thank you.
Maybe Konami intercepted that Kojima interview and mistranslated it.
I mean, honestly, if there was going to be someone who's going to try to manipulate the narrative surrounding, the meta narrative surrounding the game, it would be Kojima, because I mean, he's been talking about the way that data is manipulated and media is manipulated since Metal Gear Solid 2, and I just think that this to me is just a repeat of how upset people were about Metal Gear Solid 2. It's kind of the Raiden switcheroo all over again, where you're playing the intro part of the mission, Ground Zeroes, or the tanker, take your pick. You're playing as Solid Snake, Big Boss, and then the second part of the game, what people would consider the bigger part of the game, Phantom Pain or the tanker chapter, you're playing as Raiden, or in this case, not Big Boss.
I've lied. I have played a Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
I do know David Hayter's work.
You're a dumb idiot. Nice job.
Dumb dick.
So, I mean, honestly, in terms of thematically, it was very close to Metal Gear Solid 2, and I think the reaction is very similar to the reaction that Metal Gear Solid 2 got, and part of me is okay with that. And again, I think I'm starting to make my peace with Mission 51, just being a part of the story that we just don't get to see.
Are you sure now? I mean, we could devote another Final Encounter cast to just Metal Gear Solid 5 episode 51.
We could.
Maybe we should do that.
Well, I don't know. What did you suggest in terms of today's topic, dumb fuck?
Yeah, nothing.
That's what I thought.
Someone in the chat, Miri Kennett actually, they made a comment. Oh my God, that's what Konami is making pachinko machines, steal everyone's money to fund their projects. What if, once you get those pachinko machines going, there are 5 little tokens that contain a thumb drive that at some point are going to fall out of those pachinko machines, and that's going to have the final piece of the puzzle on it.
Now look,
is this National Treasure or Rat Race that we're on?
Now look, hang on. Now look, I just want to point out the amount of detail and the amount of puzzle solving that was involved with Silent Hills, the PT demo, what would have been Silent Hills. The amount of detail and the puzzles that were not explicitly outlined for the player involved with that. I honestly think that Kojima was trying something really unique out, and that there is something that, and it may not be Chapter 3, it may not be Episode 51, it may not be satisfying for us as Metal Gear fans, but I do think that there's something that we as players haven't figured out, and that we haven't discovered yet, and that to me is what will leave the lasting legacy of Metal Gear Solid 5, and that to me trumps every piece of satisfying narrative.
All I know for sure is that over the next few months or years, however long it takes for you and Nika to really come to terms with this game, I will be sticking in and twisting the knife every chance I get.
Well, we'll see.
Thank you.
Because you're a psychopath.
By the way, Konami still does intend to make Metal Gear Solid games, so we'll see what that's like with Kojima.
That's the thing, is that Konami keeps going back and forth on their statements.
I know, it's so weird.
Even with Kojima, with whether or not
Yes.
they're making games. Like
Yeah.
everything is just like we are, we aren't, we are, we aren't. So if this is all a big ruse, I think I'm just gonna quit life. Like I'm just done with life. What is life? I can't life anymore.
Honestly, I'm gonna say if it is a ruse, that is so fucking impressive. There's a big part of me, a big part of my heart says no, it's not. The situation is way too beyond fucked, and there are too many people that are talking about it being fucked for it to be a ruse. But there's also another part of me that says, I don't know, man. This is the same part of me that was like, I don't know, maybe there's going to be an after credit scene that has David Hayter as Solid Snake in the Phantom Pain, and I believe that. I believe that right up until the moment where David Hayter told us yes, and he would be on the show with us, and then we actually sat and talked with him, and he said, I don't actually have that much of a relationship with Hideo Kojima. I mean, he said those words in that interview.
He's seen him like
He
two
did.
or three times?
2 or 3 times,
Yeah. So, I mean, like, there is a reality to this that,
maybe that was a ruse too.
I don't think so. I don't believe that in the least. I don't believe that in the least. But I mean, like, I don't know. There is part of me that wants to believe that it's not over. There's a little part of me that wants to hold out some hope. And I think that's the part of me that hurts.
You know that there was a huge buildup for, how they removed the Hideo Kojima game from every box, right?
Yep.
Like in Ground Zeroes, if you play the Deja Vu missions, there's a whole mission where you go through and you erase the logos of every game that is a Hideo Kojima game. And if you come across a logo of a game that's not a Hideo Kojima game, it says, oh, not a Hideo Kojima game, and you leave the logo. And then after you complete the entire mission, there's this whole monologue about how, Metal Gear will never truly be over because it's always in your hearts and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this was, a couple of years ago when Ground Zeroes came out or whatever. And I'm like, this is, like, that's such a big buildup. Like, he obviously knew it was coming. Now, whether or not it was because he just knew that he was splitting off from Konami, or if they're planning this big thing, I don't know. But it's too.
And he did say, he wanted to go squarely after taboos. He wanted to do something that's never been tried before. Honestly, I think making a gigantic ARG scavenger hunt and holding back a certain portion of your game, if he did that, man, that would be the most ballsy move, and only Hideo Kojima would have the clout to pull it off.
Guys.
And the only thing that makes me doubt it a little bit is the fact that they canceled Silent Hills, because that's his game. They canceled it because he's not there
and
anymore.
We know that they canceled that because Guillermo del Toro has come out and lamented that project went away. Same with God, now I'm blanking.
Daryl Dixon.
Him.
I mean, could that still be part of the ruse? Konami's only making pachinko machines, and then all of a sudden they're like, guess what? Kojima's on vacation because
this
he's
is
actually
getting
working
so
on Silent
tinfoil
Hills,
hat
and
now.
here's the game.
We are so
Here's the
far
game.
down the rabbit hole.
There was a South Park episode about this.
I know you guys have lots of hope and lots of faith, but let's face it, Hildebrand will not be in 3.1. Just let it go.
Oh, drop it.
Let it go.
Oh gosh.
Let it go.
So yeah, I did want to spend a minute talking about that. I have been pretty plugged into that subreddit.
Just a minute.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, definitely. I don't know. Interesting stuff that exists in that Never Be Game Over subreddit. And if you want to share your thoughts, please send us some email.
No, not even if you want to. Please send us an email. We don't have any for this show.
We actually don't. Yeah. FinalEncountercast@gmail.com. Let us know. Did you play Metal Gear Solid 5? What did you think of it? And also
SAG-AFTRA.
What do you think about the voice actor strike that could come down against the
damn greedy voice actors?
Got any hate mail? Send us hate mail.
Yeah,
we love us some hate mail.
That's right. Yeah, we didn't make fun of any dead developers on this show, but I'm sure that we could probably.
As soon as one dies, we promise we will.
Yes, Nika, that's right. You said that you were going to be on Death Watch. Is there anything to report on Death Watch?
I have not seen anything yet.
Okay, good.
And I'm going to give a respectful tribute before all of the jokes come in. So I haven't seen anything so far.
And Jux is going to drop drops all over your respectful tribute.
Yeah.
It'll only be like 30 seconds, but at least to acknowledge that we understand before we just sound like complete assholes. That's my purpose.
I'd rather just sound like a complete asshole. That's more fun.
As she's doing her obituary reading, you just hear gonorrhea, gonorrhea, gonorrhea.
Yeah, that would be great. Anyway, yeah, so definitely check us out on the web at finalencountercast.com. Again, leave us some love on iTunes. We've got the feed up now, and reviews would definitely help. Just search Final Encountercast on the iTunes marketplace. We are going to be participating in an event called Extra Life. If you don't know what Extra Life is, it's an event to help raise money for kids with cancer. It's a 24-hour video game marathon. It acts somewhat like a marathon where you go out and you find sponsors that will sponsor you per hour of video games that you end up playing. And we hope that you'll join Team Limit Break Radio. We don't have a team for Final Encountercast. We have one for our more popular show around FF14. And so if you want to join us for Extra Life, we're going to be doing stuff on here as well as at our other Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. And you can sign up for that at extra-life.org/team/Limit Break Radio. And we hope that you'll do that for...
And if you can't, but you can easily click on it, choose someone on the team, and give $1, give $5. 100% of your donation goes towards the Children's Miracle Network Hospital. So if you can't commit to the 24 hours or to joining our team, but can throw a couple bucks at some of our team members, that would be extremely awesome too.
Yes, it must be so difficult sometimes to listen to us because we go from making jokes about dead video game producers to raising money for kids with cancer.
I know,
in like a 2-minute jump there.
We move fast.
We
Keep
move
up,
fast.
okay?
It's tough.
Yeah,
No one knows how to feel about us.
Yeah, so we're not complete dicks. I don't really know if there's a word for exactly what we are. But
yeah.
English has a lot of words, but there may not be one for us.
Anyway, if that sounds like a cause that you want to get behind, join us at extra-life.org/team/Limit Break Radio. And you can also check us out 2 weeks from now when we'll be streaming all 24 hours for Extra Life. Does that happen on a Saturday or a Sunday?
Saturday.
It's Saturday 8 a.m. to Sunday at 8 a.m.
Okay, yeah. And then I don't know what we're going to be doing in terms of an episode for that. But we're going to be at Youmacon. We're going to be doing some stuff for Final Encountercast out at Youmacon. So if you would, if you'd like to cross paths, or if you'd like to maybe even do a bit with us, send us an email, finalencountercast@gmail.com. It should be a good time, and hopefully you'll come out to the Renaissance Center in Kobo for Youmacon 2015. It's going to be a good time.
Yep. Spoilers, one of the cast members will be dressed as Quiet from Metal Gear Solid 5.
And it's up to you to figure out which person that's going to be.
It's not who you think it is.
It's going to be interesting. Anyway, we hope that you'll join us for that. That'll be a lot of fun. And that's I think that's going to do it here. Again, we'd like to thank David Hayter for his generous time today for the show. Again, he really put a fine point on the SAG-AFTRA discussion, and if there was any part of that discussion that you missed, check out our website over at finalencountercast.com and subscribe to the podcast. It'll be posted by tomorrow afternoon. So again, thank you all for joining us. It's been a fun episode here today, and we hope that you'll come back next time. You'll hit that follow button and join us each week when we come, it's not each week, it's about each month at this point when we live stream this show, Final Encountercast, here at twitch.tv/Final Encountercast. That's going to do it. I want to thank my partners in crime, Chris, Callie, Nika, and Robbie. My name's Nate. Have a good evening.